What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 1 UC Chapter 1 Copying Cheat, Asking to Collect Flowers. Chapter 1 Konoha, it has just snowed, and the entire Konoha is blocked by heavy snow. Let me touch it. 5-year-old Miyamoto, with a dirty face, was quite embarrassed. Facing the white-eyed little loli in front of him, he stretched out his evil right hand and pressed it on the cute little head of the loli. Copy selection. 1. Hyuga Zongja High Purity White Eyes. 2. Advanced Chakra Control Talent. 3. Gentle Fist Method, 32 palms. Hearing the voice in his mind, a smile appeared on Miyamoto's face. Without any hesitation, Miyamoto made a choice directly in his mind. Copy second choice. Advanced Chakra Control Talent. Slap. Just copied the high-level Chakra Control Talent. Before Miyamoto could feel it, the little loli in front of her eyes turned into mosquito coils, fainted. Seeing this scene, Miyamoto showed a helpless smile on his face. Sure enough, Hinata's shy character is born. On the way home, Miyamoto looked at what was projected on the retina, and there were only 2 chances of reproduction left, with a smile on his lips. Miyamoto is a time traveler. In his previous life, he was a 15 or 16-year-old high school student. On the way to school, he died in a car accident. Then he traveled to the world of Hokage ninjas, and got a very simple but very useful cheat. Copy. Every month, the chance of copying is increased once, accumulated 3 times, and if not used after 3 times, it will not increase. He has been in this world for 3 months, and he had 3 chances to copy, one of which was used on Hyuga Hinata. Except that non-human beings cannot achieve replication, regardless of your bloodline, talent, blood successor limit or ninjutsu, you can basically replicate. Of course, there are some pitfalls in the conditions for triggering replication. Physical contact is required, and without physical contact there is no way to reproduce it. Although it is not a panacea, it is good anyway. It is better than not having any cheats, right? After the initial panic, Miyamoto calmed down. According to the information of the Hokage ninja in his mind, Miyamoto formulated a series of survival plans. The first task has been completed, although it's a pity that I lost my eyes. Hinata's eyes should have a chance to evolve into a Tenseigan. However, at this stage, copying Baian is tantamount to self-destruction, and the advanced chakra control talent is also quite promising. In the future, if you touch the fairy art, you must control the talent. This time, it will not be a loss. The most important thing is that the only 12 Shaoqiang that can be touched at present is Hinata. After muttering to himself, Miyamoto returned to his home. Traveling through the past 3 months, Miyamoto has already understood his situation based on the memory left by his predecessor. Both parents died, no sister in house. Seeing this, everyone basically knows that Miyamoto's parents are indeed ninjas, but they are not Jonin, just Chunin, and Miyamoto doesn't know why they died. In addition to a set of savings, chakra refining technique, and the scroll of the 3-body technique, there is only the village's pension for the descendants after Chunin died in the line of duty. This kind of pension is only maintained until Miyamoto graduates from the ninja school. Miyamoto's refinement of chakra started early in the morning, although he didn't have any special blood and talent, but fortunately, his mature soul allowed him to calm down and successfully refined it without spending much time. The amount of chakra extracted in 3 months is not a lot, but there is not much problem in successfully enrolling and winning the starting line of ordinary students. For now, there is no problem in using a 3-body technique. As for the comparison with those family children, it is a bit clumsy to believe. It's not that he can't do it, but that he's only been here for 3 months. No one taught himself taijutsu, and no one taught him how to train his body. Miyamoto could only train with his own methods. To be a ninja, a strong body is a must. Starting today, run around Konoha, do 500 push-ups and 500 sit-ups. There is also the practice of not seal, and strive to have the ability to protect yourself before graduating from the ninja school. With a firm gaze, knowing that the world of Hokage is quite dangerous, Miyamoto has nothing to hate about Madara's thoughts on Kaguya. All his plans and goals have only one ultimate goal, and that is have the power to protect themselves and be able to survive. However, the talent of this body is really bad, so it is normal for the first copying target to be placed on Hinata's body. After all, he is one of the 12 little strong. Among other things, the talent must be stronger than him. As for baby taming and so on, it's just incidental. According to his own training plan, Miyamoto carried out meticulously. Apart from eating, drinking, and sleeping, the rest of the time was spent on training. His originally delicate body gradually began to become stronger. In the blink of an eye, a month has passed, and today is a special day. Entrance day of ninja school. Yesterday, the teacher from the ninja school came to his house and brought him the notice of admission. It is for this reason that the training that lasted for a month had to be suspended today. Looking at his weed-colored healthy little face in the mirror, Miyamoto is quite satisfied with his appearance. Sooner or later he will become a handsome guy, so there is no need to worry about this problem at all. Well, enrolled, the second plan and the third plan can start. As long as the second and third plans are completed, at least the future will be guaranteed. All in all, go to school first. Chapter 2 Uzumaki Clan Sage Body, Seeking to Collect Flowers. Chapter 2 The ninja school established for the purpose of cultivating combat power and also for Konoha has become the only way for civilians to get in touch with the ninja class. Entrance requires an exam to test whether they have the talent to become a ninja. However, this kind of examination does not exist for family disciples or ninja descendants. After simply passing the entrance examination, Miyamoto was assigned to his own class. There are not so many ninja classes this year, only 2 classes. Class A is Ju Shaoqiang's class in the original book. Although they are not descendants of the family, they are descendants of ninjas after all, so Miyamoto is naturally in Class A. Walking into the class, Miyamoto's gaze swept over Ju Shaoqiang in the class. Future Class 7. Uchiha Sasuke, Uzumaki Naruto, Haruno Sakura. Future Class 8. Kiba Inuzuka, Aburame Shino, Hyuga Hinata. Future 10th Class. Nara Shikamaru, Akamichi Choji, Yamanaka Ino. Well, it's all here, quite good. Miyamoto just stopped at the 9 people, then walked to the back, found a seat, and waited for the arrival of the teacher Iruka. Looking at a group of children of a few years old, although my body is similar now, but my soul is still a high school student anyway, and I can't play with these children. Calm down. Miyamoto's hands under the table are constantly practicing not mudra. There is no way to do this, it can only be practiced slowly one by one. In the later stage, those big guys are really good at making seals. It seems that they completed the seals directly with a clap of hands. That is based on their strength. Now Miyamoto should practice honestly. Miyamoto doesn't care about other people, but someone cares about Miyamoto. Hinata, a month ago, after Miyamoto copied the high-level chakra control talent, he always remembered the touch of Miyamoto. Until now, in retrospect, he still feels like fainting. Sensing Hinata's gaze, Miyamoto smiled slightly. Everything is false, now let yourself become stronger. Sister, after being strong, how can I be less? While Miyamoto practiced, time gradually passed. Clatter. The door opened, and Iruka, wearing a chunin vest, with a horrible scar on the bridge of his nose, came in through the door. Immediately the whole class fell silent, and all the children looked at Iruka with sparkling eyes. The following process is similar, one by one roll call, and after talking about their ideals, began to talk about the history of Konoha, as well as some basic ninja knowledge. These courses, for Miyamoto, do not matter at all. What he needs is actual combat lessons, as well as knowledge about ninjutsu. Therefore, there is no reason for Miyamoto not to use such courses to refine chakra and exercise his speed of making seals. Because his mental age is more mature than these people, coupled with his sense of urgency, Miyamoto has gradually become the most lonely existence in the class. There is no one in the class who can talk to him for more than 5 sentences, because sitting in the last row, no one can notice Miyamoto's efforts at all, except for Hinata who has been secretly observing Miyamoto. Just like in the original book, Uchiha Sasuke, who was born in a big family and has a cold personality, has become a star in the class, forming a sharp contrast with Miyamoto, who is also lonely. This situation has continued. 1 month is spent in school and training. Today is rather special. It's been a month since you entered school, and Chakra has already refined you and taught you basic ninja knowledge. So today is special, and I will give you the first exam since entering school. On the acting playground, Iruka looked at the group of children in Class A and nodded with satisfaction. This time is a practical exam. You guys will fight against each other. The beginning of this time will be used as an important reference, please be serious. Hearing Iruka's words, Miyamoto's eyes lit up. Finally, after that, the second plan can be started, and the third plan will also have a chance. The second plan that Miyamoto assigned to himself. Copy the Sharingan blood of the Uchiha family on Uchiha Sasuke and Uzumaki Naruto, and the sage body of the Uzumaki family. With these 2 things, you can basically wave to the later stage. Needless to say, Sharingan, this thing is a sudden increase in strength, which can be seen from the process of Uchiha Sasuke's opening. As for the problem of eternal eyes, although there are some troubles, it is not impossible to solve it. Needless to say, the sage body of the Uzumaki family is the guarantee of physical fitness and chakra quantity. Of course, it would be even better if there is a sage body of the Senju family, but obviously there is no such thing. After all, the only known member of the Senju clan is wandering outside. A gleam flashed in Miyamoto's eyes. Facing the current situation, he had a certainty in his heart. After a few months, although the talent is poor, at least the amount of chakra has accumulated. At least there is not much problem in releasing the 3-body technique during the battle. After this period of time, Miyamoto also started to practice taijutsu, plus 3-body technique, and his own chakra, which is barely there, so it is not much of a problem to bully the school children. Chapter 3 Get Sage Body, Seeking to Collect Flowers. Third chapter, starting now, the first group, Uzumaki Naruto vs Miyamoto Musashi. The others back off, Uzumaki Naruto qualified Miyamoto Musashi 2 people ready. Iruka hesitated for a moment, and announced the battle list of the first group. In the past month, the 2 who did not listen to the lectures in class were recognized as the bottom of the class. As for Uzumaki Naruto clamoring to teach Uchiha Sasuke a lesson, Iruka directly ignored it. Obviously, Iruka felt that the current Uzumaki Naruto could not be Uchiha Sasuke's opponent at all. I didn't expect to be able to contact the Child of Destiny so soon. After today, I don't have to worry about Chakra. After sighing secretly in his heart, Miyamoto stepped out with a serious face. Miyamoto-kun, come on. Just as Miyamoto was walking out, there was a soft, mosquito-like cheering sound from his side. If it wasn't because of the relatively short distance, Miyamoto wouldn't have heard it at all. Turning his head to look at Hinata, who was playing with his fingers with his head down, a smile appeared on Miyamoto's face. I will. Hinata obviously heard Miyamoto's answer, and her face became even redder, but she managed not to faint, feeling shy and surprised in her heart. Hinata's affection for Miyamoto is quite high, and it took a month to muster up the courage to talk to Miyamoto. Obviously, today is quite good. How Hinata will react, Miyamoto doesn't know, because now his attention is on Uzumaki Naruto in front of him. The seal of confrontation between the two sides. Iruka stood between the two of Miyamoto and Uzumaki Naruto, and existed as a referee. After Miyamoto and Uzumaki Naruto formed an opposing seal, he stepped aside in an instant. The battle begins. Hearing Iruka's words, Miyamoto's face became serious for a moment, and he put on a posture. Let the horses come here, Naruto. The address of Miyamoto stunned Uzumaki Naruto for a moment. Seeing Miyamoto's serious face, Uzumaki Naruto suddenly felt. In the eyes of Miyamoto Musashi, who has never had any intersection, there is no repulsion or disgust in looking at him. Such eyes are normal eyes. Yoshi. I'm going to F*K, Miyamoto-kun. With an angry howl, Uzumaki Naruto rushed straight towards Miyamoto. Looking at Uzumaki Naruto's actions, Miyamoto didn't feel any contempt in his heart. After all, although Naruto is only 5 or 6 years old, Miyamoto is not very old. But, rushing in front of Miyamoto, Uzumaki Naruto punched Miyamoto directly on the cheek with a burst of enthusiasm. Facing this punch, Miyamoto made a countermeasure in his mind in an instant. Turning his head, he grabbed Uzumaki Naruto's wrist with one hand, and grabbed the collar with the other hand, leaned against his back, and exerted force with both hands. Boom! Uzumaki Naruto's body hit the ground, and was then crushed by Miyamoto's backhand. Defeat the enemy with one move. This is just a simple grappling technique, not very clever, but after all, it is one move to defeat the enemy. The move shown by Miyamoto made the students in the class look at Miyamoto and Uzumaki Naruto in amazement. Even Iruka didn't expect it to end so easily, and everyone was stunned for a few seconds. Others were stunned, but Miyamoto was not stunned. Copy selection. 1. Uzumaki Sage Body. 2. Tail Beast 9 Tails, Yang. 3. Wind Attribute Chakra Change Talent. On Uzumaki Naruto, there are also 3 choices, and there is nothing to hesitate. A smile appeared on Miyamoto's face. Select copy 1, Uzumaki Sage Body. Just after making a choice, Miyamoto felt a powerful life erupting from his body, and his rather ordinary body brought a different feeling. Miyamoto Musashi wins. Before Miyamoto could sense the changes in his body, Iruka announced Miyamoto's victory. After hearing Iruka's words, Miyamoto let go of Uzumaki Naruto, who was pinned to the ground by himself, and pulled him up. I won. After saying something with a smile on his face, Miyamoto returned to the class under everyone's gaze. Miyamoto turned a blind eye to the exclamations of his classmates. His move was only useful for untrained people. The children from the family have more or less been taught accordingly. For Miyamoto's performance, did not appear surprised. Miyamoto-kun, congratulations. As soon as he got back to his place and stood up, Miyamoto heard Hinata's congratulatory voice beside him, and responded with a smile. Thank you, you have to work harder later, don't lose. Hearing Miyamoto's words, Hinata, who was still a little worried, clenched her fists tightly, and there was a fighting spirit in her eyes. After observing this scene, Miyamoto's brows trembled slightly, and he couldn't help laughing. It seems that there is really no problem with the young tame Dai. Watching the battles of other students, although Miyamoto's strength is just like that, in general, he is not bad in Class A. After carefully observing the taijutsu fighting of the family children present, Miyamoto wrote down a lot of moves in his heart. Starting today, Miyamoto's training plan needs to add physical training. But it's a pity that he has no way to meet Might Guy at this stage, otherwise, the physical skills can be made up for in an instant. Forget about 8 inner gates, the kind of forbidden technique that kills 1,000 enemies and hurts 800. Miyamoto definitely doesn't want to touch it until a certain level of strength. As the 3-dimensional base of ninjas, it is impossible for Miyamoto to let himself have shortcomings. He must plan a training plan while he is still in school. Now that the sage body of the Uzumaki family has been obtained, the next target is the Sharingan blood of Uchiha Sasuke. In the next actual combat test, regardless of whether he can beat Uchiha Sasuke now, Miyamoto has decided to challenge Uchiha Sasuke. It seems to be the reason for sensing Miyamoto's gaze, or because the battle was resolved instantly like him. When Miyamoto looked at Uchiha Sasuke also looked at Miyamoto. Frowning slightly, Miyamoto withdrew his gaze. The two protagonists of Hokage, Uchiha Sasuke and Miyamoto, really don't like it. Chapter 4 Make a Plan, Seeking to Collect Flowers. Chapter 4. Damn it, Hokage deserves to be the world of fighting for blood. After school, after finishing today's training plan, Miyamoto had to complain. The blood of the Uzumaki family just copied today. This effect was immediately reflected. I have to say that the world of Hokage is completely a world where whoever has the best blood can be the best. After completing the basic physical training, Miyamoto began to train in gymnastics. There are many physical masters in the Hokage world, but unfortunately Miyamoto has not met any of them. However, if the physical skills are powerful, unless the 8 inner gates is activated, the Konoha fluid technique is just one word. Reckless. Only by laying a good foundation one by one, can you be like Might Guy and Xiao Li, fighting is reckless and violent attack. Starting from kicking, Miyamoto found a quiet forest clearing by himself, and kept kicking the tree as thick as an adult in this class, one kick after another, and none of the kicks was exhausted. The way to gain strength is never that simple. Even if he is given the Konoha fluid technique now, without the corresponding physical fitness, Miyamoto will not be able to exert the strength of the physical technique. Ninjutsu cannot be copied. Unless it is an S level or special ninjutsu, my number of copies is not enough even if it is once a day. The copying of ninjutsu falls on the Sharingan. While kicking, Miyamoto kept planning in his mind in order to relieve the initial pain. It is impossible for the blood of the Uchiha family to flow out, unless it is the Senju family. After getting the Sharingan, you have to be careful to hide it. Trouble, it can only be used for cosmetic contact lenses. Soon, the Uchiha clan will be exterminated. At that time, I feel a little more at ease, but it's also only relatively speaking. Well, it's time to get the blood of Uchiha Sasuke. The question is, do I want to graduate early? If I don't graduate early, after 6 years, my strength will be as high as the sky. I should only be a Jonin, and a weak Jonin. In school, there is no advanced ninjutsu, and no advanced body art. Reaching Jonin should be the limit. I'm not a genius, and I don't have the aura of the protagonist of Prince Ming, and no one will come to give me eternal eyes. Graduating early. Seems feasible, but at least 3 years later. In 3 years, after the 3-dimensional base of ninjutsu has reached the Jonin level, you can apply for early graduation. As for Danzo, don't worry, he's just a civilian genius, as long as he gets on the boat of 3rd generation first. He won't do anything to himself, and when he wants to do something later, it will be too late. Plan pass. Miyamoto is a person who cherishes his life very much. He loves his life and beauty. This is a matter of Miyamoto's nature. He will never avoid it, but everything must be discussed after Miyamoto has the ability to protect himself. In the following month, Miyamoto's physical fitness soared directly due to the acquisition of Uzumaki's sage body, and more strenuous exercise plans emerged one after another. Because of the school's first exam, Miyamoto was successfully promoted from the bottom of the class to the 2nd place. The high-profile Miyamoto, the training method of rushing to death, frightened many children. The same also got the attention of some ninjas. Although I don't know what to teach Miyamoto, it's good to give some casual pointers. The most important thing is that after Iruka, the class teacher noticed, he really wanted to teach Miyamoto's advice. This made Miyamoto's strength soar upwards in a straight line this month. The figure of Miyamoto training has become a beautiful landscape of Konoha. In 1 month, Miyamoto clearly felt that his own strength was at least 3 times that of himself a month ago. Among other things, it was just physical arts. Miyamoto, who gradually figured out some Konoha fluid arts, was quite good. It has been a month since the last exam, and today Iruka is preparing for the 2nd exam to test everyone's learning in the past month. It's still the playground, it's still Class A however, compared to the curious look a month ago. The spirit of Class A this time is full of eagerness to try, and they all want to find their opponents last time to avenge their shame. Miyamoto, I will definitely beat you this time. Iruka had just announced that he was going to take a practical exam, and the yellow-haired Uzumaki Naruto standing on the other side couldn't help waving his fists and looked at Miyamoto with enthusiasm. For Miyamoto, a classmate who didn't look at him strangely, Uzumaki Naruto wanted to get close to him from the bottom of his heart, but Miyamoto was fundamentally a cultivator, and Uzumaki Naruto couldn't find Miyamoto at all after school. When going to school, Miyamoto basically never leaves his seat, with a tall and cold look. Even if Uzumaki Naruto wanted to make friends, he didn't have this opportunity. Seeing Uzumaki Naruto making trouble again, Iruka's face darkened. Naruto, I've been messed with. After scolding Uzumaki Naruto back into the queue, Iruka looked at everyone in Class A. The previous actual combat exams were random, but from this time on, the subjects of your actual combat exams are all determined by corresponding rules. From now on, you can fight whoever you want, not whoever you want. Don't make trouble. After Iruka finished speaking, he glanced at Uzumaki Naruto, who was about to take the lead, and then looked at Miyamoto. Team 1. Uchiha Sasuke vs Miyamoto Musashi. Unsurprisingly, he was indeed fighting against Uchiha Sasuke, and Miyamoto didn't find it strange. In the beginning, it was a battle between 2 crane tails. Now, it has become a battle between the 1st and 2nd place. I have to say that such an arrangement is relatively reasonable. Constantly changing opponents can also allow students to adapt to different enemies. Hearing that the first battle was the battle between Uchiha Sasuke, the most popular handsome guy in the class, and Miyamoto, the 2nd place, the faces of the girls who had already started to commit nympho at this period were full of anticipation. Overall, Uchiha Sasuke is more popular than Miyamoto. Miyamoto-kun, be careful. Hinata next to Miyamoto used a normal tone this time, full of shyness to cheer for Miyamoto. In Class A, Hinata is the only one who has a good relationship with Miyamoto. After nodding, Miyamoto suppressed his mood and came to the opposite of Uchiha Sasuke without saying a word. Chapter 5 Sharingan Blood Succession Boundary 5/5 Chapter 5 Sasuke-kun, come on, Miyamoto-kun, don't lose. How can you not lose? Sasuke-kun is a genius. Miyamoto-kun is also a genius. Miyamoto, teach me a good lesson, bastard Sasuke, as my opponent, you must not lose to Sasuke. The last sentence is undoubtedly Uzumaki Naruto's words. If you can't become Miyamoto's friend, Uzumaki Naruto regards the only classmate who is looking at him directly as an opponent. As soon as he said this, Uzumaki Naruto was naturally scolded by the girls in the class. Miyamoto didn't care about these things at all, but Uchiha Sasuke, who has not yet experienced the genocide, is arrogant now, but he doesn't have the gloom after that, looking at Miyamoto. Come on, I will beat you upright and become the number one in this session. After forming a seal of opposition with Miyamoto, Uchiha Sasuke put on airs directly. Unlike Uzumaki Naruto, Uchiha Sasuke's strength is absolutely strong despite his young age. Well, come on, Miyamoto also had a serious face, leaning slightly, waiting for Uchiha Sasuke's attack. Didn't keep Miyamoto waiting long, Uchiha Sasuke rushed towards Miyamoto directly with sharp eyes and serious face. Konoha Gale. As soon as Uchiha Sasuke approached Miyamoto, he lowered his body and at the same time spun and kicked out a sweeping kick, attacking Miyamoto's lower body, neither fast nor slow. In the past month, Miyamoto's strength has skyrocketed. Uchiha Sasuke's attack is quite powerful in the eyes of others, but in Miyamoto's eyes, it is full of flaws. After seeing through Uchiha Sasuke's attack style, I originally planned to use Miyamoto of the three-body technique to take a step forward and do somersaults to avoid Uchiha Sasuke's handsome Konoha Gale. Falling behind Uchiha Sasuke, Miyamoto grabs Uchiha Sasuke's arm with one hand and puts one hand on his shoulder. It's over. Uchiha Sasuke. Being grabbed by the arms and shoulders, Uchiha Sasuke's expression changed. What? The next moment, the earth spun, the small body hit the ground, one hand was caught behind the back, and Miyamoto's hands ruthlessly pressed Uchiha Sasuke to the ground. Copy selection. 1. Uchiha Sharingan. 2. Fire Attribute Chakra Nature Transformation. 3. Fire Style Great Fireball Technique. There are still 3 copy options, but for Miyamoto, the most important and most needed is only the first option. I choose to copy the Uchiha Sharingan bloodline. As soon as the voice fell, Miyamoto felt a cool feeling in his eyes, but it was just that, not enough to open his eyes. There is only one chance to copy the bloodline. If you want to copy something on Uchiha Sasuke, you can only copy other things on him, such as Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. Today's harvest is still good. Glancing at Uchiha Sasuke, who was suppressed by his almost identical posture, Miyamoto showed a subtle smile on his face. Good friends should be neat and tidy. Uchiha Sasuke and Uzumaki Naruto, a pair of enemies, their fate has already begun to entangle. It's not that I haven't thought about Indra and Ashura's chakra, but after these two things are fused together, the old grandfather sage of 6 paths will be summoned. God knows what kind of attitude Sage of 6 Paths has towards those who have collected both chakra. So to be on the safe side, instead of gathering the chakra of Indra and Ashura, it is better to get the Sage body and Sharingan. When fighting the ultimate boss Ōtsutsuki Kaguya, there is a certain amount of self-protection power. If you touch Ōtsutsuki Kaguya, everything will be fine. Victor, Miyamoto Musashi. Everyone was shocked again. This time not only the civilians were shocked, even the family members looked at Miyamoto in a daze. Miyamoto's strength was beyond their imagination. I will definitely beat you next time. Getting up from the ground, Uchiha Sasuke's face was covered with dust, his eyes fixed on Miyamoto, and he said, "Absolute." Nodding undeniably. If it was before, Miyamoto would have cared a little bit, but now, Miyamoto doesn't care. Well, I'm waiting. Chase my figure hard. It's so arrogant, but if you think about the scene where Miyamoto defeated the enemy with one move just now, everyone has such a feeling. Probably really possible. Chapter 6 Hinata's Strength 1/5. Chapter 6 After getting the 2 bloodlines that he most wanted to copy, Miyamoto has come to an end with regard to the bloodline for the time being, and the next time is basically to temper his own strength. Sharingan's eye-opening, don't worry about it for now, and Miyamoto doesn't plan to open his eyes in Konoha. After all, 3rd generation, that peeping Tom, doesn't know when to use his crystal ball to peep. Sincerely. After getting Uchiha Sasuke's bloodline, Miyamoto's training plan became more intensive, copying cheat and transforming his body. Otherwise, it would definitely be a problem to accommodate Uchiha bloodline and Uzumaki sage body. Now Miyamoto, the blood in his body, has evolved. The vitality is stronger and the progress is faster. Almost every day, Miyamoto can feel the rapid progress of his strength. 2 months later, Konoha's back mountain, Leaf Hurricane. Miyamoto's eyes were sharp, and his legs were like fine steel. After turning around in the air, he kicked fiercely on the tree that Miyamoto used for training before. Boom. Click. Under this leg, this uncle with a thick adult waist made a crisp sound and fell down slowly. Phew. In terms of physical skills alone, I'm at least at the level of elite chunin. It's a pity that ninjutsu and illusion haven't made much progress. Taking a breath, Miyamoto estimated his own strength and sighed slightly. Ninjutsu and genjutsu are not like taijutsu, which can be practiced by oneself, which requires others to teach oneself, or use copy cheats to directly copy the ninjutsu of others. If Sharingan didn't open his eyes, it would be more troublesome, but it's not that there are so many people in Class A who can't help it, there will always be one or two who know a few ninjutsu and illusion. For example, Uchiha Sasuke has a C-level fire-style great fireball technique. After the genocide, Uchiha Sasuke will know more and more ninjutsu. In other words, Miyamoto has his eye on Uchiha Sasuke. In the past 2 months, Miyamoto and Uchiha Sasuke have played against each other several times. They have already copied the fire and thunder attributes brushed from Uchiha Sasuke's hands, and also copied the wind attributes of Uzumaki Naruto. He wants to gather all 5 series and develop towards an all-round ninja. Looking at the remaining copy, Miyamoto felt a little helpless, if only there was no limit on the number of times. Miyamoto-kun. While Miyamoto continued to do boring training alone, behind a big tree on one side, Hinata looked at Miyamoto with a blushing face. There were not many blood vessels protruding around the eyes. I have opened my eyes. It proves that Hinata's talent is quite good, otherwise, she would not be called a supercilious princess. Hinata. It's you. Seeing Hinata's appearance, Miyamoto was taken aback for a moment. Miyamoto didn't find it strange that Hinata could find him accurately, after all, he had already opened his eyes. Yes. When I was practicing over there just now, I heard a noise here, so I came here to have a look. Miyamoto-kun, am I disturbing you? There is a sage first, and then there is heaven, and I am as beautiful as a fairy in a painting. Hinata was cute when she was shy and played with her fingers when she was a child, and Hinata is also cute when she grows up. From the beginning, Miyamoto made up his mind to attack Hinata, otherwise, he would not have shot Hinata. Will not. Stand up. In school, Hinata is the only one who interacts with Miyamoto. It has been more than 3 months since the start of school, and Miyamoto and Hinata have made great progress. At least the current Hinata and Miyamoto are not talking like mosquitoes. Same. Looking at Hinata, Miyamoto's eyes flickered slightly. He remembered copying Hinata's talent half a year ago. At that time, the choice of Gentle Fist 32 palms appeared, which was quite powerful. Even in the past few months, Hinata has not improved, and her strength is properly ranked among the top 3 in Class A. It's just too gentle. Hinata, come to fight. Looking at Hinata with a serious face, Miyamoto's face was serious, and he directly interrupted Hinata's words of evasion and lack of confidence. I know, Hinata, your strength is stronger than most of the people in the class. If you train alone, your progress is limited, so Hinata, let's practice in pairs. After posing, Miyamoto looked at Hinata seriously, waiting for Hinata's response. Hearing Miyamoto's words, Hinata's face turned red, her eyes gradually became firmer, and she assumed a gentle fist pose, facing Miyamoto. Then, Miyamoto-kun, please give me your advice. The figures of the two fought against each other in an instant. Miyamoto suppressed his own strength, and fought with Hinata with great vigor. In all fairness, Hinata's strength can be said to be quite good in the student days when he mainly relied on physical combat. Starting today, in the second half of Miyamoto's daily training, Hinata will be added. Hinata, this chick, Miyamoto decided to win the strategy, but as his own woman, she cannot lose her strength, so Miyamoto invited Hinata to train together. Chapter 7 The Strength of Elite Jonin 2/5 Chapter 7. Time flies, and with Hinata's company, the time of practice becomes less boring and full of fun. In the blink of an eye, 3 years have passed. 3 years is enough to change a lot of things, the whole Class A. The biggest change is Miyamoto. Perhaps because of the blood genes of the Uchiha family, Miyamoto's appearance is getting more and more handsome. Not only his strength has steadily become the first in this year, but his appearance is even more so. Hoki's face is as sharp as a knife, sharp eyes, and black hair that is deliberately long and looks like Hoki Madara. Even Uchiha Sasuke, who is also a handsome guy, is still crushed in terms of appearance. Not to mention strength, taking advantage of the opportunity of copying, over the past 3 years, Miyamoto has not only raised all of his ninjutsu 3-dimensional bases to the Jonin level, but also broke through to the elite Jonin level in one of the strongest martial arts. Except for the lack of combat experience, the rest of the strength can no longer be broken through by training. After completing the battle experience, Miyamoto can be sure that he will have the strength to threaten the cage level. After all, the level of life and death battles between ninjas is not fixed. It is very likely that a Jonin will capsize in the gutter and die in Genin's hands. Although such situations are rare, they're not impossible. In terms of overall strength, Miyamoto is quite sure that he is at the level of Itachi's 50-50, Kaiga. After making up for the shortcomings in experience, Miyamoto will become the first echelon of Konoha. After all, in the past 3 years, there is no saying that he has copied the number of times. After 3 years, he has screened and copied a lot of B-level ninjutsu, and none of them was wasted. As for Chakra, don't worry about it. In addition to suppressing 9 tails, Naruto's chakra has 4 times as much Hokage Kakashi. After 3 years, Miyamoto, who has no tail beast in his body, has accumulated a terrifying number of chakra. The most important point is, unlike Naruto's Sage Body, after Miyamoto copied Uchiha Sasuke's bloodline, it took more than a year for Sage Body and Uchiha bloodline to merge and upgrade. The amount of chakra, which was already terrifying, was even more terrifying. That's why Miyamoto thinks he can split 50-50 with Kakashi because chakra can lose even Kakashi. Of course, this is just what Miyamoto thinks. It's really hard to say about a man like Brother Kai. The school is no longer able to improve Miyamoto's strength, so Miyamoto has decided. Graduation early. Miyamoto-kun, have you really decided? Hinata, who gave her sweetheart a knee pillow, had a red face, but her expression was quite depressed. In the past 3 years, Miyamoto, who has had a girlfriend for the first time in the past and present, really treats Hinata as his angel and dotes on him. The relationship between the two has developed rapidly in the past 3 years. If the standard is met, it is estimated that Miyamoto will not be able to bear it. Well, the ninja school has no way to improve my strength. It's time to graduate early and go out to perform tasks. Opening his eyes, seeing Hinata like this, Miyamoto put a smile on his face and pinched Hinata's little nose. Don't worry, I'll be fine. Hearing Miyamoto's words, Hinata nodded and looked at Miyamoto. Miyamoto-kun, may I? Before he finished speaking, Miyamoto shook his head and looked at Hinata seriously. No, Hinata, you are still too young, and your strength is only the elite genin. If you graduate early now, I don't worry. Miyamoto knew what Hinata wanted to say. After all, 3 years was enough for Miyamoto to understand what the sweet girl in front of him was thinking. Seeing Hinata's slightly disappointed face, Miyamoto got up and rubbed Hinata's little head lovingly. I promise to become a jonin when you graduate and do the quest with you. Hearing Miyamoto's words, Hinata, who has changed a lot in 3 years, looked at Miyamoto seriously. Agreed. After stretching out her hand to hook Hinata, a smile appeared on the girl's face. Miyamoto's heart was moved. Although in the past 3 years, there have been love bento and knee pillows, but the intimate contact between the two is limited to holding hands. There is no way, Miyamoto is too innocent, and Hinata is too pure. Seeing the smile on the corner of Hinata's mouth at this moment, Miyamoto's breathing suddenly became heavy, and he lowered his head. Mwah! Looking at the face of Miyamoto who was close at hand, Hinata's face turned red instantly, steam was rising from his head, he rolled his eyes and passed out. Before fainting, the scene of Miyamoto kissing herself appeared in Hinata's eyes. Miyamoto-kun. She kissed me. Chapter 8 3rd Hokage Personal Test 3/5. Chapter 8 Hokage Building, Hokage Office. Master Hokage, I have to disturb you for a while. With a strange color on Iruka's face, he stood at the supreme leader of Konoha, the well-known ninja in the ninja world, and the already very old 3rd Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen. Oh, Iruka, what's the matter with you? Looking at Iruka in front of him, the 3rd generation showed doubts on his face and asked. Did something happen to Naruto again? I'm a little helpless. Uzumaki Naruto's identity, coupled with 3rd generation's sense of indebtedness to him, so what Uzumaki Naruto did, 3rd generation wiped their ass all the way. Iruka came to 3rd generation, and in many cases, it was Uzumaki Naruto's business. No, this time it's not about Naruto, it's about Miyamoto Musashi. Iruka opened his mouth and said, Miyamoto him, applied for early graduation. Hearing Iruka's words, a gleam flashed in 3rd generation's cloudy old eyes, took a puff of the early graduation application submitted by Iruka, and couldn't help but fell silent. For 3 years, the training of Miyamoto and Hinata has long been exposed to the eyes of 3rd generation. As early as Miyamoto began to show his talents and started training, 3rd generation noticed Miyamoto. Miyamoto was outside the school, and he could get some guidance from ninjas intentionally or unintentionally, which was also the meaning of 3rd generation. This is undoubtedly a proper civilian genius. Miyamoto, whose background is cleaner than Nongfu Spring, naturally has no need to hide his talent. He hides his talent just to pretend to be tough now. That's true, stupid. Doing that, Ninja Darkness will definitely keep an eye on him, and the kind of staring that he attaches great importance to. It's better to show your talent at the beginning, gradually become better, and follow the same path as Hokage Kakashi. Looking at the application form in his hand, after taking a few puffs of cigarettes, 3rd generation looked up at Iruka. Well, I have passed this application. You bring Miyamoto Musashi to see me tomorrow morning. There is no need to make too much noise about his early graduation. Now is a peaceful age, and there is no need for younger generations of geniuses to boost morale, so there is no need to let everyone know, and then get onlookers or something. 3rd generation is well aware that Miyamoto's strength, exposed to others prematurely, is not that good. The 3rd generation has decided, test Miyamoto's skill level for yourself. In the early morning of the next day, Miyamoto put on the strong clothes, took the ninja gear that Hinata had prepared for him, and carried a suitable katana on his back, and Miyamoto went out. Led by Iruka who was waiting for him early in the morning, he came to a forest in the back mountain. You guys are here. Wearing the Hokage imperial robe, A kind smile appeared on the old face, and at the same time, his eyes were full of light. He looked at Miyamoto beside Iruka, and nodded slightly. Not bad. To be able to reach the level of Jonin within 3 years in peaceful times, Miyamoto is quite a genius, even compared to Hitaki Kakashi who became Jonin at the age of 12. After all, Kakashi graduated early when he was 5 or 6 years old. Master Hokage. Iruka greeted you, third generation, turned around and glanced at Miyamoto beside him with emotion. This is Miyamoto. After hearing Iruka's introduction, Miyamoto stood up and bowed slightly to third generation. Master Hokage, for third generation, Miyamoto's heart is actually quite complicated. From the previous events, including a series of Konoha accidents, it can be seen that the Hokage of third generation did a good job in the early stage, became fatuous in the middle stage, and worked hard to keep the business in the later stage. No matter how to hack third generation is actually qualified as Hokage. The problem is that third generation doesn't have the decisiveness of Danzo. If there were, Konoha wouldn't be as strong as he is now. So for third generation, Miyamoto has both admiration and vigilance in his heart. Third Hokage. This person is not a good person, nor is he a bad person. On how to face third Hokage at this stage, Miyamoto has his own ideas. With righteousness added to one's body, one can win steadily. And most importantly, the third generation is just a springboard. Knowing all the big bosses in this world, Miyamoto doesn't have much awe for the third generation, and he doesn't have much awe for the position of Kage. And he himself does not intend to become Hokage. Miyamoto has no love for power and power. What he pursues is his own strong strength, which is used to guarantee the life of staying and flying with Hinata. In the past, there were cases of early graduation from ninja school, but it was a special period. Now, you are the first one, but it is not so simple to successfully graduate early and become a genin. Third generation didn't talk nonsense. After taking a puff, he put down the pipe in his hand, looked at Miyamoto, and said, "At least it has to satisfy me, otherwise you'll have to go back to school for a few more years." Miyamoto Musashi, do you have any confidence? Watching third generation's actions and listening to third generation's words, Miyamoto Musashi basically understood that it was third Hokage, none other than the one who tested himself today. However, Miyamoto, who has not been very familiar with his own strength positioning for a long time, did not have any worries. He bowed his small body and made preparations for fighting. Master Hokage, please give me your advice. Chapter 9 Fighting the Third Generation, Showing Strength 4/5. Chapter 9. Then. The battle begins. Hearing Miyamoto's confident words, third generation, who stood with his hands behind his back, spoke. Whoosh whoosh. As soon as the voice fell, the three-handed kunai finished glyphs flew towards third generation, and the kunai was not finished, and Miyamoto's hands instantly formed a seal. Fire-style Great Fireball technique. The first ninjutsu learned by Miyamoto was used directly, and the seal was completed within a second. Chakra condensed in the throat and spewed out in one mouthful. A huge fireball formed in an instant, blocking the third generation sight, while the billowing heat wave displayed the terrifying lethality of the Great Fireball technique. Swish. Instant body. After drinking lightly in his heart, Miyamoto disappeared in an instant. After the Great Fireball technique, there was a charred mud wall in front of third generation's figure, and he himself stood behind the mud wall unscathed. A gleam flashed in third generation's eyes, and the 5 seals of the Great Fireball technique were printed in 1 second. This speed of printing is already quite excellent even among Jonin. As soon as such an idea fell into place, third generation keenly sensed that the ground under his feet was strange, and his eyes moved, and he jumped away in an instant. Earth-style heart beheading technique. A pair of small hands stretched out from the ground, but did not catch the third generation, and the next moment Miyamoto's figure jumped out of the hole, facing the third generation that had jumped away without any hesitation, and pulled out the special katana behind him in an instant. Jung. The body skills that have been tempered one after another broke out unreservedly, without giving third generation any chance to breathe. Konoha Gale. The leaf rises to the wind. Leaf Hurricane. Holding a knife in one hand, Miyamoto's continuous taijutsu attacks dazzled Iruka who was watching the battle. He was quite sure that Miyamoto would be able to graduate just by virtue of his taijutsu cultivation. Your martial arts ability is indeed very strong, but if it's just that, you won't be able to graduate early. During the fight, when the voice of third generation sounded, he changed his initial defense and saw that although Miyamoto's physical ability was strong, he lacked experience, so he caught Miyamoto's flaw and slapped Miyamoto in the heart. The location was photographed. Boom. Successfully hit Miyamoto, but what landed was a piece of wood. Body replacement technique. There's not much problem with body art, and ninjutsu is also not a big problem. What is lacking is experience and a trick of the nature of a trump card. Seeing the wood in front of him, third generation instantly analyzed Miyamoto's current situation. Now that he has the strength, he also has the foundation that a ninja needs to have. What is lacking is a decisive means and experience as a ninja. No wonder he chooses to graduate early. The ninja school is no longer necessary for him. Shadow clone technique. Just as third generation was thinking, a voice sounded from above. Third generation and Iruka looked upwards instantly. Miyamoto and Shadow Clone intertwined and sealed at the same time. Fire style great fireball technique, wind style great breakthrough. Ninja law. Blowing wind and blowing fire technique. Even if you haven't seen Hokage, you know the basic principle that the wind helps the fire. In the past 3 years, even Uchiha Sasuke has copied the B-level Haolonghuo technique, but it cannot be used here. In school, no one has ever used it, and no one has taught me outside. Now I use it, which is uncomfortable in itself. So simply, Miyamoto used the principle of wind to help the fire, used the great fireball technique and the great breakthrough technique learned, and used the combined ninjutsu, which was as powerful as the B-level technique of inducing wind and blowing fire. Homemade. 3 years is enough time for Miyamoto to figure out some combination ninjutsu. The moment he turned his head and saw Miyamoto, he had already attacked. Boom. The blazing flames were terrifying. Where the third generation was located, there was a scorched pothole more than 10 meters away, exuding a slight burnt smell. Swish. Standing on the ground, Miyamoto did not hide again, but looked behind Iruka. The figure of third generation was there, and he did hit just now, but it was the shadow clone of third generation. Remarkable talent. After taking a puff of cigarette, third generation looked at Miyamoto, who had come in front of the two of them, and said, "Congratulations, you have passed." Although the two of them haven't used their full strength yet, third generation has almost figured out Miyamoto's strength, and supplemented the experience. This is properly the strength of elite Jonin, on the number. Such a combat power is indeed too wasteful to put in the ninja school. After completing the exam in a low-key manner, Miyamoto followed third generation and returned to the Hokage office. After completing the entry of ninja information, he successfully obtained his own ninja forehead protector. Musashi, from today onwards, you will be a member of the Konoha Shinobi, and you must fulfill your duties as a ninja and protect the village. Seeing Miyamoto put on the ninja forehead protector, third generation swallowed a mouthful of mist, then looked at Miyamoto seriously. Hearing the title of third generation, Miyamoto complained about his own name. After Miyamoto Musashi, he looked at third generation seriously. I will. He has a sense of belonging to Konoha, although it is not strong. The reason why I agreed to third generation is more because of Hinata. If sentenced to the village, will Hinata be with him? Basically impossible. Considering Hinata's identity, it is unlikely. Even if it is, in the end, it will be unhappy after all. Miyamoto was reluctant. Therefore, it is impossible to judge the village. If this is the case, it is not a big deal for Miyamoto to agree to third generation. As a Hokage fan, Miyamoto has watched a lot of Hokage fan EVs. Kakeke, fanfiction, most of Long Aocean's villages are condemned, and those who are not judged are almost riding on third generation's head to shit. For such Miyamoto can only hee. The saying that people grow old with age, unless it is dementia, is universal in any world. The water in Konoha is too deep. Miyamoto doesn't plan to go deep, as long as he fulfills his obligations well, and then develops his own strength. After having the power to protect himself, wouldn't it be beautiful to live a happy life with Hinata as a young couple? Had a long talk with third generation. When he came out of Hokage's office, it was already noon. Holding the scroll given to him by third generation in his hand, Miyamoto smiled slightly. This is the reward that third generation gave him for early graduation, a B-level fire-style ninjutsu. Fire-style Fire Dragon Flame Bullet. Chapter 10 Teammate 5/5. Chapter 10. Miyamoto-kun. Have you passed? After staying at home for an afternoon, Hinata ran to Miyamoto's house after ninja school was over in the afternoon. Facing Hinata, who was worried about his small appearance, Miyamoto pampered Hinata's little head and took out his ninja forehead protector. I made it, Hinata, and from today onwards, I'm an official ninja. Hearing Miyamoto's personal confirmation, Hinata breathed a sigh of relief, blushed and took out a pair of quite fine ninja gloves from his pocket. This is for Miyamoto-kun. Congratulations Miyamoto-kun for graduating. Looking at Hinata in front of him, Miyamoto raised his hand and pinched Hinata's little face, with a serious face. Thank you, Hinata, it's really great to meet you. While speaking, he hugged Hinata in his arms, and Hinata also stayed quietly in Miyamoto's arms. Both of them enjoyed the present time very much. After all, after Miyamoto graduated, she promised Hinata that before she graduated, she would become a Jonin and lead the 8th class at that time. Under such circumstances, Miyamoto and Hinata are destined to spend less time with Hinata in the next 3 years. There is another reason why Miyamoto is unwilling to stay in the ninja school. If you want to marry Hinata, then no matter what, at least you need a matching status. He doesn't like power, and he doesn't want to meddle in Konoha's government affairs and darkness. Under such circumstances, he needs to be strong enough to affect Konoha's strength even if he has no official position, plus the prestige of the Jonin world. Show your mettle, so that even if some people in Hyuga want to object, it is impossible. On the second day, the door location of Konoha village. Swish. After the sound of the wind, Miyamoto's figure appeared in front of the 3 figures. He was wearing simple decorations and a ninja bag around his waist. He was dressed the same as yesterday. Are you Miyamoto Musashi who joined temporarily? Just as Miyamoto appeared, a crisp voice sounded, with a slightly dissatisfied tone. Really, even if you're a genius, it's not good for third generation to temporarily arrange someone to come in, right? Hearing this voice, Miyamoto looked up at the 20-year-old Maruko too, who was wearing a windbreaker, and under the windbreaker was a bold female ninja in fishnet mail. Mitarashi Anko is currently Konoha's special Jonin, but according to his strength, Mitarashi Anko should be at the Jonin level. Why does he stay at the special Jonin? For this reason, Miyamoto does not want to understand deeply. Before Miyamoto could speak, beside Anko, another special Jonin in his 20s and 40s with curly black hair and burgundy eyes on the other side, Kuro Yuhi spoke. Well, forget it Anko, Master Hokage should have a reason for doing so. Taking a look at Yuhihong, in the next 3 years, she will successfully pass the Jonin secret exam and become the teacher of Xiaoqiang's class. I didn't expect my teammates to be Mitarashi Anko and Yuhihong. How should these two women say, although the fate was a bit rough, but luckily they lived out the finale. It's just that Yuhihong was cheated a little bit by Sarutobi Asuma, and Anko's later stage was simply horrible. Well, after much deliberation, I still prefer my own Hinata. As for whether or not to have sex with the two women in front of him, Miyamoto is not interested in it, and Anko is not willing to do it. Does Shihihongtian know if anything happened to Sarutobi Asuma? And, now, Miyamoto is very satisfied, and Hinata is a childhood sweetheart, isn't it? Hello, I am Miyamoto Musashi, please give me your advice. Miyamoto also knows the good intentions of third generation. In all fairness, even if the two are just special Jonin, but this strength, proper Jonin level, teaming with them is safe and secure. This old fox has already seen that he graduated early because he wanted to gain ninja experience, so he didn't put himself in the Genin team to waste time at all, but directly contacted C-level and above tasks. Hi Miyamoto-kun, I'm Kurenai Yuhi, and this is Mitarashi Anko, please give me your advice. Compared with the carefree Anko, Kurenai Yuhi is obviously more polite. While looking at Miyamoto Musashi, he introduced himself. There is determination on the immature face, and she is quite calm from the beginning to the end. Based on what third generation said to the two of them, it proves that Miyamoto, a genius comparable to Kakashi, graduating early at the age of 9 is not a big deal in the eyes of the two. Their classmate Kakashi graduated early at the age of 5. At the age of 6, he was already a Chunin, and at the age of 12 he became a Jonin. After saying hello, the three of them set off directly. The task is a C-level task, to deal with a group of bandits in the Land of Fire. C-level missions are usually taken by Chunin, but this time two special Jonin acted together with him, Miyamoto knew. The task this time is to let myself see the blood, directly transitioning to those tasks of Genin. Third generation wants to use the fastest way to train myself. However, such an arrangement is quite good. Chapter 11 Sharingan opens eyes 1/5. Chapter 11. It was dark and there was no moonlight. Miyamoto-kun, quick fight. Outside a cottage, the three of them were very clear about the mission and the fundamental purpose of this time, so after the three of them came here, Yuhihong and Anko had no intention of making a move, and they all looked at Miyamoto. Nodding slightly, Miyamoto's face was serious. 10 minutes later, you all come in to check the mission situation. Swish. After speaking, Miyamoto cast the body flicker technique, which disappeared silently into the perception of the two. After Kurenai Yuhi and Anko looked at each other, they each spread out, guarding one direction, in case any fish slipped through the net. The bandits at night have basically fallen asleep, even the little guy standing at the door on duty is already drowsy. It is quite difficult to catch a ninja who is good at hiding himself in the dark night, especially a master like Miyamoto. At this moment, everything outside of Miyamoto seemed quite relaxed, even the sound of breathing was quite slight. However, Miyamoto's mood swings are quite violent. It is the first time to kill someone in the past and the present. Of course, it is impossible for Miyamoto to not be nervous at all. With the small sword in hand, Miyamoto's black pupils gradually burst into cold eyes. Blink. With a low voice in his heart, Miyamoto's figure appeared behind a bandit who was watching the night in an instant. Cover your mouth with your hand, raise your knife to cut your throat. All in one go without any stagnation, whoosh, puff. After completing the first kill, without any hesitation, Miyamoto shot out a kunai directly, piercing the head of another vigilant bandit. Pulling out kunai, Miyamoto didn't intend to enter through the main entrance, but went to another exit. After killing 2 more people with the same method, Miyamoto's eyes were cold and tended to turn red. Glancing at the messy cottage, it was obvious that he had just had a carnival. After taking a rough look, Miyamoto's figure flickered. Following Miyamoto's actions, the number of living people in the cottage dropped sharply. This is just a group of fairly ordinary bandits who have just gathered together, without any threat at all. Less than 10 minutes later, about 7 or 8 minutes later, Miyamoto walked out from the main gate of the cottage. Leaning on the gate, Miyamoto didn't even look at other places, but just raised his hand to sign Konoha's task completion gesture. Swish. Yuhiro and Anko appeared in front of Miyamoto, looking at the pale Miyamoto. Yuhihong's face changed slightly, and quickly checked whether Miyamoto was injured, and Anko's eyes flashed a trace of worry into the cottage. I'm not hurt, I'm just a little out of sorts. Faced with Kurenai Yuhi's inspection, Miyamoto waved his hand, said something, and forced a smile. Hearing Miyamoto's words, Kurenai Yuhi nodded. Just rest for a while. He didn't say anything consoling. After all, This is something that everyone will experience. Only when he thinks clearly can he recover. Seeing blood is something every ninja must adapt to. I know. In front of others, Miyamoto didn't talk very much, and after only answering Kurini Yuhi's sentence, he fell silent. At noon on the second day after completing the task, the three of Miyamoto returned to Konoha. Miyamoto, who had been away from home for 2 days, and because of the reason for seeing blood for the first time, did not turn in the task, but went home. In fact, Miyamoto, who had already been prepared in his heart, had already recovered his mentality. He was considered a person who died once after time travel, and his mind was not so fragile. The reason why I was in a hurry to go home was, Sharingan, open. In the bathroom, after taking a shower, Miyamoto stood in front of the mirror, his face became serious, and he let out a soft drink in his heart. A cool feeling surged into the eyes, and above the blood-red eyeballs, there was a Guyu in each. Sharingan, who has been silent since getting the blood of Uchiha Sasuke 3 years ago, saw blood for the first time last night, and under the violent mood swings, he successfully opened his eyes. As a feedback, Miyamoto's chakra has almost 1 layer more. I have imagined the huge amount of Miyamoto's current chakra. Under such circumstances, it is no wonder that after the Uchiha clan opens their eyes, their strength will increase greatly. After checking his Sharingan, Miyamoto took out a special colored contact lens that had been prepared a long time ago and put it on. Even with the eyes open, there was no abnormality, and Miyamoto closed Sharingan. After tidying up, Miyamoto lay on the bed, ready to take a good rest. The house was still very clean, which proved that Hinata had come to clean it when he was on a mission. After all, the bed was messy when he left, but it was tidy when he came back. Sharingan eyes open. Lying on the bed, looking up at the ceiling, Miyamoto secretly calculated in his heart. The initial insight made my dynamic vision stronger. Let's see if I can get Kakashi's Reikiri. The evolution of Sharingan, for me, the main issue is the degree of emotional stimulation. This is the only way to break through between life and death. We must get the 3-hook jade as soon as possible, so that we can not lack ninjutsu and illusion. After making up his mind, Miyamoto closed his eyes and rested. There is no way, the first time I went on a mission, I didn't feel it physically, but mentally, I was a little tired. Closing parenthesis. Chapter 12 Complete the task 2/5. Chapter 12. Konoha Hokage Building, Sarutobi Hiruzen's office. The above is the whole process of this mission. Kurenai Yuhi and Anko stood in front of 3rd Hokage's desk and told 3rd Generation all about the process of Miyamoto's first mission, in every detail. After the two finished speaking, they looked at each other, and Yuhi Hong said, Master 3rd Generation, I think Miyamoto-kun is more suitable for Anbu. His strength is quite strong. What he lacks is experience. Anbu can help Miyamoto-kun improve his strength. Kurenai Yuhi and Anko are both 3rd Generation's confidant ninjas, so they can naturally make some suggestions. Originally, the task of letting them team up with Miyamoto, 3rd Generation also meant the same. Hearing Yuhi Hong's words, 3rd Generation took a puff of cigarette, and some helplessly exhaled the secondhand smoke. I've thought about it, but this kid refuses to be Anbu. So for the time being, it can only be like this. Thinking about Miyamoto's reasons for refusing to become Anbu, 3rd Generation felt relieved and amused at the same time. Because Hinata. There is only one reason why Miyamoto refuses to be Anbu. 3rd Generation is relieved that Miyamoto, an indifferent kid, has formed a bond with the people in the village. Unfortunately, the two are only 9 years old. After pondering for a while, 3rd Generation recalled the day when Miyamoto was the forehead protector, remembering that Miyamoto said when chatting with him. Become a Jonin within 3 years. Thinking of my promise to Miyamoto, as long as he has enough qualifications to apply for the exam, I will promise him and let him take the upgrade exam. Thinking about it this way, the 3rd Generation seems to be confirmed, and the next Miyamoto will definitely start crazy done the task. Except for the National Joint Chunin examination that will be held every few years, Konoha Village will have such a Chunin Jonin examination every year. It is just an internal examination, not as bright as the National Joint examination. There are strict requirements. Genin took the Chunin exam, C-level tasks at least 3 times, or completed B-level tasks. Chunin participated in Jonin's exam, A-level tasks at least 10 times, or completed S-level tasks. After pondering for a while, 3rd Generation looked at Kurenai Yuhi and Anko. You two, just form a team with Miyamoto for the time being. If you want to promote Jonin, Yuhiro, the task should be a little short. Anko has no idea of promotion, so it is equivalent to assisting. Although Miyamoto is still a genin, you should know his strength, and he won't hold you back. For the time being, let's settle it like this. Time flies, and in a blink of an eye, 3 months have passed. I didn't expect to meet Jonin in this mission. Anko's face was tired, and there were obvious signs of battle on his body. Did he leave some small wounds? He looked at the nameless Jonin ninja whose neck had been wiped under Miyamoto's feet with a little emotion. Although Jonin has high-end combat power, there are quite a few Jonin in every Dainin village. After all, it is impossible for anyone to show their full strength. It's normal for Jonin to appear in A-level missions. Miyamoto calmly sealed the ninja's body with a scroll, and brought such a body back to the village and handed it over to the intelligence department to obtain some information. Unless it is an emergency, the corpse of a Jonin-level powerhouse must be taken back. Miyamoto-kun, are you not injured? On the other side, Kurini Yuhi, who was in the same state as Anko, looked at Miyamoto with a little worry. If it wasn't for Miyamoto-kun, this mission would have failed. After shaking his head, Miyamoto came to the side of Anko and Yuhihong, and after making a seal, he focused his palms on Chakra. Medical ninjutsu healing technique. This is the healing ninjutsu learned in 3 months. It also copied the A-level healing jutsu, and during the mission process, copied Yuhihong's A-level illusion tree binding. After simply treating the wounds of Anko and Kuroyuki, Miyamoto looked at them. Can it work? If it works, let's set off, so as not to have long nights and dreams. If it doesn't work, I'll find a place for you to recover. Don't worry about safety, I'm here. Hearing what Miyamoto said, Kurenai Yuhi and Anko rolled their eyes. Go back to the village first. If there are still pursuers behind, I'm afraid it's not the combination of Jonin and Shunin. After the two said something, they looked at Miyamoto with strange eyes. It's been 3 months, and it's been 3 months since the three of them formed a team. During these 3 months, the three of them didn't get any tasks below B level. At the beginning, they were still taking B level tasks. All A level missions. Yuhihong's task of taking the Jonin exam is still short of the last one, and she can complete it. After all, for the time being, the S rank is not something that their team can pick up. During these 3 months, Yuhihong and Anko have seen what is called the growth of a genius. Miyamoto's current strength is already firmly at the level of elite Jonin. Although there is still some way to go from cage level, it is not that far away. The most important point is that Miyamoto's strength is developed in all directions. The most prominent is taijutsu, followed by genjutsu and ninjutsu. Their team has been dominated by Miyamoto since 2 months ago. After all, Miyamoto is the strongest. Let's go if you can. Miyamoto glanced at the two, said something, and left immediately. Anko and Yuhihong looked at each other, smiled helplessly, and followed in an instant. The way Miyamoto cares about people is quite unique. Chapter 13 Hinata's Growth 3/5 Chapter 13 Hokage Building, Mission Hall. From time to time, there are Jonin or Chunin, bringing the Genin squad to hand over the task, and there are not many people in the task hall. Third Hokage, usually go to work, will be in the task hall, only some special tasks will be issued in the Hokage office. Crunch. The door of the mission hall was pushed open, and 3 figures, 1 short, 2 tall, and 3 figures walked in, with a dusty appearance, making it clear to everyone that this was a big mission. Miyamoto, Anko, and Yuhihong appeared in the mission hall, and the ninjas present showed fiery colors in their eyes, looking at the 3 of Miyamoto. It's not because of the beauty of Yuhihong and Anko. Although they are indeed good-looking, they are dusty and messy, and they don't have much temptation. The reason why I came here is because their team is too famous. In the past 3 months, in the first 2 months, a total of 12 B-level missions have been completed. In the following month, A-level missions have been completed twice. Adding this time, a total of 3 A-level missions have been completed. This kind of speed is not as good as the average Jonin team. Third generation saw the arrival of the 3 of Miyamoto, with smiles on their faces. Master Hokage, this is the task document for this time. It seems that at the counter, Miyamoto handed the quest scroll to third generation. At the same time, his eyes flickered, and he took out the scroll that sealed the body of Jonin. This is the body of the unknown Jonin who attacked us this time. Unknown Jonin's body. After hearing Miyamoto's words, the people present looked at the 3 of Miyamoto with surprised eyes. Many people know Kurenai Yuhi and Anko. After all, they are 2 beautiful ninjas, and they are both special Jonin. In addition, Miyamoto, who is obviously a genin, actually killed a Jonin. The strength of this team is a bit strong. Especially Miyamoto. Everyone is not a fool, and the fact that the team is dominated by Miyamoto makes everyone understand that Miyamoto, the kid, is the strongest. Well, I see, this is the reward this time. There was a flash of light in third generation's eyes, and then he returned to normal. After handing over the mission reward to Miyamoto, he took a puff of cigarette and looked at Miyamoto with satisfaction in his eyes. Musashi, don't accept the mission, go back and have a good rest. Hearing what third generation said, Miyamoto was stunned. I see, Lord Hokage. Like a bright mirror in my heart, third generation let himself take a break, probably because the Chunin exam is coming. Just after leaving the Hokage building, when Miyamoto was about to leave, Kurenai Yuhi suddenly proposed. Miyamoto-kun, do you want to have a dinner together tonight? Our team hasn't had a formal dinner yet. Stopping in his tracks, Miyamoto hesitated. Forget it this time, when you become a Jonin, Hong, and when I become a Chunin, I will treat you to a special meal, and I will cook it myself. After speaking, Miyamoto stretched out his hand and placed it in front of Kurenai Yuhi and Mitarashi Anko. Yuhi was stunned for a moment, and Anko and the two put their hands on the back of Miyamoto's. Swish. The next moment, Miyamoto's figure had disappeared in front of the two. Prepare for the Jonin exam well, after the exam is over, we will continue the mission. Hearing Miyamoto's words, Yuhihong and the two felt a little helpless. Sure enough, the way a person with a cold temper cares about his companions is just as special. Today's ninja school is still the same life. Nothing major happened in Class A. Even 3 months ago, the chief student had become Uchiha Sasuke. It was just a change in that period of time. After all, they are a group of children, and their ability to accept changes is quite strong. After the 3rd grade, the morning is basically a theoretical knowledge course, and the afternoon is training in actual combat. When Miyamoto arrived at the school, Class A was conducting actual combat training in pairs. Miyamoto appeared quietly and saw Hinata in the queue at a glance, with longing in his eyes. The last A-level mission, due to some attacks hired by traitors, went around for a week, so even Miyamoto's calm personality couldn't help but ran to the school. As for whether the information about his early graduation will be exposed, Miyamoto is not worried at all. He can't hide what he wants to know, and he already knows what he should know, and the rest doesn't matter. After watching a few trivial fights, Miyamoto heard Iruka call Hinata's name. Match 6, Hyuga Hinata vs Uchiha Sasuke. Hearing this battle, Miyamoto's face showed a hint of surprise, to be honest. Hinata is stronger than Uchiha Sasuke. After all, the ninja students' battle is basically based on physical skills, because the student's chakra is not enough to release ninjutsu. Except for freaks like Miyamoto. Student Uchiha, please enlighten me. With her eyes fixed on Uchiha Sasuke, Hinata made a gentle fist kick. I promised Miyamoto-kun that I will never show mercy. Uchiha-san, please be careful. Uchiha Sasuke, who was standing opposite Hinata, frowned when he heard this. Stop talking nonsense, it's almost the same if it's Miyamoto. I am no worse than him now, remember to avoid, Hyuga. After finishing speaking, Uchiha Sasuke's hands suddenly formed a mudra, and the familiar mudra made Miyamoto, who was hiding in the dark, frown. Great fireball technique. Uchiha Sasuke moved, and Hinata's face froze. She is also very familiar with this ninjutsu. Miyamoto uses the great fireball technique the most. Blind eyes. Open. The meridians around the eyes emerged, and Hinata opened the white eyes directly, with a 360-degree field of vision without dead ends, and Miyamoto's huge chakra also entered Hinata's sight. Miyamoto hasn't seen Hinata for a long time, and misses Hinata very much. Hinata is the same. When she saw Miyamoto's chakra with her eyes blank, Hinata was stunned for a moment. And at this time, danger! Iruka's voice sounded, bringing Hinata back to his senses. Uchiha Sasuke's great fireball technique had already burned towards Hinata. It is far less powerful than what Miyamoto released, but if it hits, Hinata will definitely be seriously injured. In the nick of time, swish! A figure appeared in front of Hinata in an instant, and he pressed his hand directly to the ground. Earth-style earth wall. An earthen wall rose up, blocking in front of the two of them. Boom! The great fireball technique bombarded the earth wall, but it didn't shake the earth wall. After burning for a while, it scattered. After the earth wall blocked the great fireball technique, it returned to the ground, revealing the person who made the shot. Miyamoto looked at Uchiha Sasuke with a frosty face, and the murderous aura gradually gathered because of the mission radiated out. Uchiha Sasuke. Do you want to die? Chapter 14 Miyamoto's Chunin Exam 4/5. Chapter 14 The atmosphere was silent for a moment, and then there were bursts of exclamations. Miyamoto-kun. Miyamoto. Musashi. Miyamoto's figure appeared, and everyone present was stunned, especially seeing Konoha's ninja forehead protector on Miyamoto's forehead, and the students of Class A were all puzzled. At first, everyone didn't know what happened to Miyamoto, but suddenly he stopped coming to school, and Iruka didn't explain too much. Now everyone knows. This is becoming a ninja. Ah, ninja forehead protector. Musashi, have you become a ninja yet? Uzumaki Naruto bluffed, pointed at the ninja forehead protector on Miyamoto's forehead, and yelled, full of envy. Damn, when did you become a ninja? Uzumaki Naruto's words made all the students in Class A look at Miyamoto's forehead, and most of them were full of envy. There are also a small number of people who are thoughtful. Nara Shikamaru looked at Miyamoto and murmured slightly. The student who graduated early, as my father said, I didn't expect it to be him. Some time ago, when Miyamoto did not come to school, Nara Shikamaru overheard his father Nara Shikahisa mentioning that there was a genius who graduated early. After thinking for a while, Nara Shikamaru looked at Uchiha Sasuke with a hint of sympathy in his eyes. It's over, Miyamoto. It's not difficult to infer from his father's words, at least he has the strength of a special jonin. That's true. At this moment, Uchiha Sasuke gritted his teeth, trembling uncontrollably, and looked at Miyamoto in disbelief. How is it possible? It's just eyes, just eyes. Has this guy grown so much in the past 3 months? Desperate gap. The impression of Miyamoto stays with Uchiha Sasuke 3 months ago, and I feel the deep gap between the two at this moment. That is a hopeless chasm. The dragon has reverse scales, and it will be angry when touched. There is no doubt that Hinata is Miyamoto's reverse scale. It was the first time that Hinata appeared in danger under his nose just now, which caused a burst of killing intent in his heart involuntarily. Miyamoto, a man full of prejudice and arbitrariness. Musashi, Sasuke did something wrong, but it's not entirely his fault. As a Chunin, Iruka has also killed people and performed tasks. Miyamoto's killing intent made Iruka nervous for a while, with cold sweat on his forehead, and stood in front of Miyamoto. Musashi. Iruka finds it a bit difficult to deal with. Miyamoto is also a problem student in Class A, because he is really too withdrawn. Hinata is the only one who walks into Miyamoto's heart. In the past 3 years of school life, most of the students in Class A and Miyamoto are no more than nodding acquaintances. Hearing Iruka, Miyamoto took a deep look at Uchiha Sasuke, and withdrew his gaze. Uchiha Sasuke, I am waiting for a certain day to come. After school in the afternoon, Miyamoto and Hinata left the school together. Along the way, Miyamoto said nothing, and Hinata followed timidly. After the two came to the usual training place, Miyamoto looked at Hinata seriously. Hinata, I have something to tell you. Hearing Miyamoto's words, Hinata's body trembled slightly, hummed lightly, then lowered her head, not daring to look at Miyamoto. Hinata in this shape is quite cute, giving Miyamoto the feeling of a frightened little hamster. With a sudden smile, Miyamoto spoke directly. The Chunin Gai exam in the village is about to begin. I will spend the rest of my time with you, except for preparations. Looking up directly, looking at Miyamoto with big eyes, Hinata's face is full of surprise. Real. Hinata's reaction was expected by Miyamoto, reaching out to scratch Xiaochong's nose. Really, I don't lie to you. Before Miyamoto finished speaking, Hinata had already jumped into Miyamoto's arms on his own initiative, leaning against Miyamoto's body with his small face. Very good. Don't worry at all about Miyamoto's Chunin exam, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and in Hinata's eyesight, Miyamoto-kun is omnipotent. After holding Hinata in his arms for a good tenderness, Miyamoto let go of Hinata, and Hinata left Miyamoto's embrace with a red face. After finishing the business, Miyamoto said with a serious face. In the next time, I will train you well, Hinata, make up your mind. Seeing that Miyamoto did not mention the matter of being distracted during the battle today, Hinata was very moved, and at the same time felt a little ashamed, looking at Miyamoto. I see, I will never let Miyamoto-kun down again. The Chunin exam in the village is not difficult for Miyamoto at all, and the content of the exam will not be as cumbersome as those jointly organized by several major countries. However, there should be procedures or to go. In fact, Miyamoto didn't prepare much. He trained with Hinata every day to temper Hinata's strength. The two returned to the same life as the previous two-person world, which was quite comfortable. In this way, a month passed by in a hurry. This weekend, when Miyamoto was training with Hinata, a breath quickly approached them, and in a blink of an eye, it appeared in front of them. With an animal mask on his face and an Anbu costume, after seeing Miyamoto, he ignored Hinata and looked at Miyamoto. Miyamoto Musashi, Hokage-sama please. After changing the sound with special skills, the neutral voice sounded, but there was a hint of curiosity in the eyes. That's what Hokage-sama said, let her use the word please. Hearing Anbu's words, his eyes moved slightly, and Miyamoto nodded slightly. I see. Turning to look at Hinata, Miyamoto didn't speak, Hinata spoke first. Miyamoto-kun, Chunin exam, please be safe. Miyamoto nodded, didn't say much, moved his body, the body flicker technique was activated, and together with Anbu who came to inform, the two left instantly. Closing parenthesis. Chapter 155050 open, Brother Kai 5/5. Chapter 15. Konoha number 22 training ground has a total of 22 entrances, one entrance has a Chunin, and even an elite Jonin exists. He is explaining this Chunin test to the Genin team taking the Chunin test this time. After getting the qualification certificate for the exam from the third generation's office, Miyamoto came to gate number 1, led by Anbu who was looking for him. Just approaching gate number 1, in Miyamoto's perception, there was a dormant aura, which was at the elite Jonin level. When he saw gate number 1, holding a book in his hand, half of his face was covered by a mask, leaving only one right eye, and a head of white hair, such obvious features, Miyamoto's eyes lit up. Hitaki Kakashi, Brother Kai, oh, here we come. Miyamoto saw Hitaki Kakashi, and the other party also saw Miyamoto, put away the book in his hand, Kakashi said easily. The most special candidate for this exam. Miyamoto Musashi. Walking in front of Kakashi, Miyamoto nodded slightly with a smile on his face. Senior Kakashi, it's the first time we meet, hello. Hearing Miyamoto's address, Kakashi nodded slightly, glanced at Miyamoto Musashi, and handed a scroll with Tianzi printed on it and a scroll with nothing written on it to Miyamoto. You need to stay in the examination room for a week, and at the same time you have to collect all the Tianzi scrolls and the Earth scrolls to pass the Chunin exam. If you give up the exam, just open this scroll and it will be regarded as an abstention. 1 week afterwards, open the scrolls of Tien and D, and you will be sent to the central tower, above. After taking the 2 scrolls, Miyamoto frowned slightly. Is there a faster way? Do I have to stay in it for a full week? Hearing Miyamoto's words, Kakashi shook his head and looked at Miyamoto seriously. Musashi, there are not only poisonous insects and beasts in the number 22 training ground, but also traps left over from previous exams. It is not that simple to stay there for a week. My lords will have prosperous martial arts. After saying this, Kakashi stepped aside and let Miyamoto walk into the number 22 training ground. After Miyamoto's figure completely disappeared, Anbu, who had brought Miyamoto before, appeared beside Kakashi, raised his hand and took off the mask, revealing a beautiful face under the mask. Azuki Shion, if Miyamoto were here, he would definitely recognize him. Senior Kakashi, is this kid really that strong? Azuki Shion was a little puzzled. Hearing Azuki Yuyan's question, Kakashi nodded and said with a little emotion. It's really strong, at least Jonin's level of fighting power, it's really a genius. Swish swish swish. Miyamoto's figure kept moving from tree to tree, with a thoughtful expression on his face. How many teams there are, unknown. How many pairs of scrolls, unknown. Where they all entered the field, unknown. Do you want to conduct actual combat investigations to obtain intelligence, search for the enemy, respond to the enemy, survive in the wild and defend? Surviving for a week means that if the scroll was robbed during the exam, it can be recovered later, as long as you don't give up. It seems that there is a shortcut. In just a moment, Miyamoto almost figured out the requirements for Chunin in this exam. Such results in actual combat are quite good, at least not too watery. Miyamoto's figure, staying on a branch of a giant tree, perfectly concealed his figure with the help of dense leaves. His breath was hidden, and he looked at the three young figures below. This should be the genin team who just graduated not long ago. It seems quite cautious, but there are flaws everywhere. Meeting a team so quickly made Miyamoto feel a little surprised, but accidents are accidents. Now is the exam, and all you meet are opponents. This is not the time for sympathy. Body flicker technique. Swish. A piercing sound sounded, and Miyamoto's figure instantly appeared behind the genin team. Bang bang bang. After 3 consecutive muffled sounds, in front of Miyamoto, the 3 members of the genin team fell to the ground. After a quick search, he got a scroll with the same Tianzi as himself, and after glancing at the scroll representing abstention, Miyamoto hesitated for a moment, and opened the scroll directly. Boom. After a puff of smoke, Kakashi appeared in front of Miyamoto. Is it really a summoning technique? Senior Kakashi, is this team abstained? Kakashi didn't speak. After hearing Miyamoto's words, he looked at Miyamoto with a strange face, and finally nodded. They've abstained. After getting Kakashi's answer, Miyamoto smiled and already had a plan in mind. The body flicker technique kicks in and Miyamoto goes right out of here. Kakashi watched Miyamoto leave, and couldn't help but feel sorry for the candidates of this year, and there was a Jonin-level master competing on the same stage. It seems that the outcome is already doomed. Closing parenthesis. Chapter 16 Eliminate all participating teams 1/4. Chapter 16. From the beginning, the candidates didn't notice a little bit, and Miyamoto almost didn't notice a little bit. The abstention scroll, in addition to being able to tear it, other people can also tear it. Just saying that tearing it apart means abstention, so does it mean that not only the scroll of heaven and earth in your hand is important, but the scroll of abstention is also very important? Even more important than the second scroll of heaven and earth? After all, the characters were robbed. In a week, there is still a chance to get it back and complete the exam. However, once the abstention scroll is opened, it will be abstained directly. The only thing that is uncertain is whether someone else's opening will also be considered a waiver. Now Miyamoto is sure. Calculated. Shadow clone technique. Miyamoto, who was walking, formed a seal with his hands, and the huge chakra in his body instantly turned into 5 parts, forming 5 shadow clones. Shadow clone technique is a B-level auxiliary ninjutsu, not the multiple shadow clone technique listed as forbidden technique. Miyamoto learned it a long time ago, and used it once when fighting against 3rd generation. 5 shadow clone, plus Miyamoto, a total of 6 people left in different directions in an instant. Since an outsider tore the abstention scroll, it is considered abstention. Miyamoto intends to eliminate all the candidates of this year alone. Hyuga Iron Tree, the branch house of the Hyuga family, a graduate of the last ninja school, although he is not a genius, but his current strength is properly at the Chunin level. His team should be regarded as the top-notch team in the Chunin exam this time. Most importantly, Hyuga Iron Tree does not have the arrogance of the children of a big family. He is quite cautious and works closely with his teammates. Not long after the start of the game, the scrolls have been collected, and now Hyuga Iron Tree's combat policy is to avoid confrontation with other teams while guarding the scrolls. In other words, when the exam is over, they will pass the exam and become Chunin. If there is no accident, their team will indeed have a high chance of successfully passing the exam and becoming Chunin. Tishu, how is the situation? Is there a team approaching in front? Beside Hyuga Iron Tree, a girl asked. Her face was a little dirty, but she wasn't worried. After all, their team was already winning. After hearing his teammates' questions, Hyuga Tishu turned his head slightly, with a smile on his face. No one is near. Don't worry, we will definitely be able to become Shunins. Hyuga Iron Tree just finished speaking. Suddenly his face changed, and he turned his head to look behind him. How is it possible? So fast. Someone is approaching quickly, ready to fight. As soon as Hyuga Tishu finished speaking, he and his 2 teammates waited in full swing. Just as the other 2 took out kunai, Miyamoto's figure rushed out from the bushes. The moment Miyamoto appeared, the trio of Hyuga Tishu stood ready and looked at Miyamoto nervously. Who are you? Hyuga Tetsuki's white eyes were open, looking around in case Miyamoto's teammates suddenly attacked. Compared to the nervousness of the three, Miyamoto's face is quite calm. Sorry, I'm in a hurry, I'll finish you off in a flash. After the voice fell, Miyamoto's hands instantly formed a seal, and Chakra gathered his chest. Fire-style Fire Dragon Flame Bomb. The expressions of Hyuga Tishu and the three changed drastically. Just as they were about to disperse, Miyamoto's attack had already arrived. Boom! The three figures were directly blown away, except for Hyuga Iron Tree, the other two had already fainted. Boom! It hit the ground hard, although Hyuga Iron Tree was not injured to death, but he also lost his mobility, lying on the ground in pain. Although Fire Dragon Flame Bulletin is only AB level ninjutsu, it is the ninjutsu used by third generation to win over Miyamoto. How could it be worse? It is normal for the aftermath to injure three people. So strong. Who are you? Hyuga Tetsuki looked at Miyamoto and spoke with difficulty. This is Konoha's internal exam, and there is nothing to say about inferior skills, and Hyuga Iron Tree is a chunin anyway, and he still has eyesight. Miyamoto deliberately deflected ninjutsu, otherwise, whether the three of them can survive is still up to two. Glancing at Hyuga Iron Tree, Miyamoto's eyes flickered. Miyamoto Musashi, you are eliminated. After finding the Jizzy scroll and summoning Kakashi scroll on Hyuga Iron Tree, without any hesitation, Miyamoto tore the scroll directly. After a burst of smoke, Kakashi saw the apparently messy ground and the back of Miyamoto leaving, and smiled helplessly. This year's candidates are really going to be unlucky. It was not certain at first, but now Kakashi has confirmed Miyamoto's intention. After all the candidates were eliminated and only he was left, there was no need for the examination. Finding all the participating teams in the huge number 22 practice field and eliminating them all by one person is enough to prove Miyamoto's strength. This Miyamoto has no plans to stay at the number 22 training ground for a week. Starting from the exam in the morning, after Miyamoto knew the rules, he began to eliminate all the participating teams in a frenzy. One is to quickly end this meaningless exam. The second is to let the name of his genius gradually spread, and he doesn't need the common people to know. As long as the ninja class knows his name, there will be no big problem. Chapter 17 Special Jonin Miyamoto 2 Quarters. Chapter 17. In the forest, Miyamoto watched Kakashi directing the medical team to take away the stunned genin team with a blank expression. After contacting the Shadow Clone technique, he received the feedback information from Shadow Clone. With a confident smile on his face, Miyamoto looked at Kakashi. In the 22nd training ground, including me, there should be a total of 22 genin teams participating in the test. Except for me, the other 21 teams have all been eliminated by me. Senior Kakashi, the Chunin exam this time is over, right? Miyamoto's words made Kakashi a little helpless, which had never happened before. Even for him, it was not that simple during the Chunin exam. Looking at Miyamoto in front of him, it was not that the candidates who took the exam this year were too weak, but that Miyamoto was too strong. Well, you passed the exam. After pondering for a while, Kakashi said something in a serious tone, and then changed his voice. However, the appointment of Chunin requires Master Hokage's approval. Regarding your appointment of Chunin, you need to wait for Master Hokage's notice. Of course, all the circumstances of this exam will definitely be reported to Master Hokage. Musashi, be careful. Glancing at Kakashi in surprise, Miyamoto probably knew why Kakashi asked himself to be careful. Certainly not the ninjas with these ears knocked out. Nodding to show that he understands, Miyamoto said. I'm leaving first, Kakashi-senpai. After speaking, Miyamoto left directly, and after Kakashi took a look at the scene, he also left. This may be the fastest Chunin exam that Kakashi has ever seen. As Miyamoto expected, third generation did not stop Miyamoto from promoting just because Miyamoto eliminated all reference teams. On the contrary, not only let Miyamoto become a Chunin, but also rise directly from a Chunin to a special Jonin. Judging from the tasks completed by Miyamoto, Miyamoto has this qualification, and no one is gossiping. The strength lies there, not to mention the B-level missions, but the A-level missions alone have been completed 3 times. With such strength, it is no problem to become a special Jonin. Miyamoto-kun. At the gate of the ninja school, Hinata, who had just finished school, saw a familiar figure under the tree of the ninja school, and walked towards Miyamoto with a blushing face. With Miyamoto running over. Miyamoto, who seldom smiles and works with Kurenai Yuhi and Anko, has not laughed more than 5 times in total, but loves to laugh when facing his girlfriend. I don't feel that I am a lolicon at all. After all, when it comes to mental age, Miyamoto was still a student in the ivory tower in his previous life. How can he be mature? Hinata, no training today, go to my house, cook and eat, I will cook myself. With an expectant smile on Miyamoto's face, he said. Let me show you my amazing cooking skills tonight. In the previous life, Miyamoto had a father who was a star chef, so he was familiar with it, and he also practiced good cooking skills. If it weren't for the cheat, Miyamoto would never have entered school to become a ninja, but opened a small restaurant instead. As for the catastrophes in the future, Miyamoto is not worried. As long as he pays attention to Uzumaki Naruto's movements, he can basically escape. Okay. Hinata did not refuse Miyamoto. Hinata, who was originally quite docile, never refused Miyamoto's arrangement. Most importantly, Hinata can clearly feel that Miyamoto is quite happy, although he didn't ask, but Hinata has already seen it. Not long after Hinata and Miyamoto left, among the students of Class A who followed behind, the three new generation Ino Shikacho saw Miyamoto's back. There was a trace of doubt and surprise in Yamanaka Ino's eyes. Is that Miyamoto-kun? Miyamoto-kun wearing a Chunin vest? Akamichi Choji followed his gaze. That Musashi guy, has he become a Chunin? No, not right. Nara Shikamaru's eyes flickered slightly, looking at Miyamoto's back. That is. Jonin. I went to the vegetable market specially and bought the freshest steak and various side dishes. Even the current Miyamoto, after performing so many tasks, is already quite affluent, but he still keeps bargaining with the vendors. This is a part of life. Hinata is smiling the whole time. She enjoys this kind of life very much. When they got home, the two worked together, with Miyamoto in charge and Hinata helping the cook. The first steak in the Hokage world was cooked. Although the red wine is only 3 years old, it is quite good under Miyamoto's special brewing recipe. This is a candlelight dinner. Miyamoto-kun, congratulations on becoming a special Jonin. Raise the wine glass, although children can't drink, but with a glass, it shouldn't be a problem. Hinata took a sip of the wine. Her little face was reddish. Under the candlelight, she was quite cute. The flowers haven't opened yet, but they are already in full bloom. Thank you, Hinata. With a smile on his face, Miyamoto felt unprecedented happiness in his heart. He has always had a sense of belonging to this world, but at this moment tonight, he really has it. Miyamoto-kun, how do you eat this? Looking at the plate in front of him and the knife and fork on the side, he couldn't help but be full of doubts and shyness. With a slight smile, Miyamoto stood up, came behind Hinata, held Hinata's hand from behind, and taught Hinata bit by bit how to use a knife and fork. This dinner was quite warm. Chapter 18 Three-Color Squad 3/4. Chapter 18. It has been nearly 2 years since Miyamoto became a special Jonin. In the most recent Jonin exam, Miyamoto and Kurani Yuhi officially became Jonin together. After Miyamoto was promoted to special Jonin, Kuroyuki's Jonin exam was missed because the three of them had a temporary mission. The Jonin exam is not like the Chunin exam, which is held every year. After missing it, simply Kurenai Yuhi is waiting to be referenced with Miyamoto. I don't know if it's because of the butterfly effect, but the strength of Yuhihong and Anko has improved a bit under the influence of Miyamoto. As for Miyamoto, let alone, the three-dimensional base of ninjutsu has safely entered the cage level. Needless to say, ninjutsu, with his achievements and strength, he has already obtained the ninjutsu he wants on the Book of Seals, and then cooperates with himself to develop it in terms of ninjutsu. It may not be as good as Kakashi, which has copied thousands of ninjutsu, but at least it is better than third generation. In terms of illusion, the highest level of illusion he has come into contact with so far is the Book of Darkness on the Sealed Book, which is activated by Sharingan. Even if it is a ninja who is stronger than him, the illusion of Grandmaster will take a while to unlock. As for his Sharingan, he has already reached the Three-God Jade, and he did not continue to open it. Mangekyo is powerful, but the side effects are not small, and he can wait for Uchiha Sasuke to open it and copy it again. Most importantly, the price of Mangekyo, he cannot afford. For Mangekyo to hurt his own Hinata, or let his companion die, Miyamoto couldn't do it. Miyamoto is just bland, not ruthless. The sage body of the Uzumaki family has also been developed to a perfect state. The most powerful proof is that Miyamoto has awakened the strongest scrying technique like Uzumaki's incense. Kagura Heart and Mind. After Miyamoto and Yuhihong both advanced to Jonin, the three-color team known throughout Konoha for the past 3 years is about to be disbanded. After all, Jonin is a high-end force in a village. He is at the top. Without special circumstances, he basically acts alone, or if he doesn't have a lot of mission mentality, he will lead a genin team with potential. Most importantly, Miyamoto promised Hinata to accompany Hinata to do missions when she becomes genin. Today, Miyamoto has made this request to third generation. Cheers. In Yakiniku Q, Miyamoto, Yuhihong and Anko toasted together, wearing jonin mail, shoulder-length hair, and having grown into a handsome guy. Miyamoto's is fruit juice, while Anko and Yuhihong's are sake. After drinking a cup, Anko looked at Miyamoto with some dissatisfaction. Miyamoto-kun is so stingy. You cook delicious food, but you don't want to cook it again. You don't want to cook, but you don't even want to bring wine. You're stingy. After the Jonin exam, Miyamoto fulfilled his previous promise to cook dinner in person. Hearing Anko's complaints, Miyamoto, who has formed a bond behind him during the life and death tasks of the past 3 years, couldn't help but smile. Don't even think about red wine. The longer it is kept, the better it will taste. As for cooking, I only cook for my women. Anko, forget it. Hearing Miyamoto's words, not only Anko rolled his eyes, but even Kurenai Yuhi, who was always smiling on one side, curled his lips as well. As the captain of Trisolaris, in the last 3 years, Konoha village has been a well-known rookie genius, and even Miyamoto has a certain reputation in other villages. Not only his strength and character are envied by the two of them, but even Miyamoto's feelings are also envied. It made the two of them a little envious. Anko didn't care, because for some reason, she didn't want to marry. But Yuhihong wants to get married. After all, before her father Yuhi Junhong died, he told Anko, "Pass the will of fire to my grandson." Such words. Having said that, Miyamoto looked at Yuhihong with a strange expression on his face. "Is Asuma still chasing you?" Hearing Miyamoto's words, Kurani Yuhi froze for a moment, then shook her head. "Well, but I don't feel that way about him, it's impossible to be with him." Having said that, Kurenai Yuhi glanced at Miyamoto. "What is Miyamoto-kun going to do next?" "The Trisolaran team is going to be disbanded. I plan to lead a genin class. To be honest, I don't want to do missions without teaming up with you two." Having said that, Miyamoto showed a smile of anticipation on his face. "In my case, I will take the genin class. I made an agreement with Hinata. When she graduates, I will take her to do the task together." Kurenai Yuhi and Anko paused and looked at Miyamoto. "Are you serious, Miyamoto-kun? Using your strength to lead the genin class, this kind of thing, the third generation should not agree to it?" Anko frowned. She doesn't have many friends, and Miyamoto is a rare close friend. "Our team was disbanded originally because we wanted to release your combat power. In the end, you are going to lead the genin team. It is impossible for third generation to agree." "It all makes sense," Miyamoto pondered for a moment. Regarding his current cage level strength, third generation is one of the insiders. No matter how you look at it, it seems impossible for such a great master to lead the genin class, but nothing is absolute. "I will still lead the genin class. After all, this is an agreement between me and Hinata. The agreed thing must be done. This is my shinobi. Also, third generation has already agreed. He. Hearing Miyamoto's words, Anko opened his mouth and was speechless. Yuhihong said a little jealously. "Hinata is really enviable." This tone. Miyamoto touched his nose in embarrassment, but didn't speak. Chapter 19 Yuhihong's Little Thoughts 4 Quarters. Chapter 19. The plot has changed a little bit, at least the plot of Yuhihong has changed a bit. Miyamoto has never planned to soak in Yuhihong. After all, the age gap is there, but the old saying goes well, love comes and cannot be stopped. Kurenai Yuhi is probably feeling this way now. She doesn't have any feelings for her destined lover Asuma, but she has a strange feeling for Miyamoto, a much younger companion. Probably since the only S-level mission a year ago, Kurenai Yuhi's attitude towards Miyamoto has changed. Miyamoto noticed it, and Anko knew it too, but no one said it. Yuhihong would not rob a boy in her teens, she also has her own dignity. Therefore, Yuhihong's heart has been buried in her heart for a year. Miyamoto didn't even know how to face it, after all, he had never experienced such a situation. It was already very late when I came out of Yakiniku Q. Miyamoto's house and Yuhihong's house were on the way. So the two left together. Cough. The moonlight tonight is so beautiful. The atmosphere between the two was a little awkward. Miyamoto touched his nose, and said slightly awkwardly. Puff. Perhaps it was because he drank too much wine. Yuhihong's face was intoxicatingly red, and he looked at Miyamoto. Miyamoto-kun, there is no moon tonight. You speak so strangely. The weird thing is you, not me. Okay. Miyamoto couldn't complain, and there was a trace of cold sweat on his forehead. It's not good. The atmosphere between him and Yuhihong suddenly became quite delicate. It would not be good if it continued like this. To be honest, Miyamoto never intended to have anything to do with Kurenai Yuhi. I don't know whether it was intentional or really drunk. Yuhihong looked at Miyamoto with radiance in his eyes, which made Miyamoto quite helpless. Speaking of, Hong, are you really determined to be the guide Jonin? Miyamoto has some wacky openings. You are Konoha's red pupil. The three-color team, the title of Yuhihong, is quite weird. Crimson pupils. Of course, what was normal to everyone else was just weird to Miyamoto. To be able to have the title, it is conceivable that Yuhihong's strength is much stronger than the original book. How strong I am, I know it in my heart. The three-color team can have such a reputation, not because of me and Anko. Speaking of this, Yuhihong looked at Miyamoto with a strange face. The dangers encountered in the mission are basically solved by Mr. Miyamoto. In the past 3 years, the three-color team's mission completion rate with 0 mistakes is simply terrifying. After all, there has never been anyone's mission that has guaranteed 0 mistakes for more than 3 years, even Hokage in the past. Miyamoto smiled irrefutably. Miyamoto, who has completely grown in height and shape now, looks really handsome. With such a smile, seeing Yuhi's red face, he became even more red. Ninjas are not warriors. It is impossible to fight alone, unless you reach the shadow. A smile appeared on Miyamoto's face, and he glanced at Kurenai Yuhi. Hong, your strength should have reached Elite Jonin, and within a few years, you should be able to reach Shadow. It's a pity that the copy can only be used on oneself now, and I don't know if it can be used on others in the future. If it can, Miyamoto doesn't mind helping a bunch of Kurenai Yuhi. More importantly, help Hinata. After all, although the current Hinata is stronger than the original, the upper limit of strength is limited. Unless it is Tenseigan, otherwise, Hinata's future ceiling is really limited. Shadow. My dream is not that great. Saying something pointingly, Shihahong took a look and had already arrived at the door of her house, and Yuhahong stopped in her tracks. Miyamoto-kun, see you tomorrow. Glancing at Kurenai Yuhi, Miyamoto nodded. See you tomorrow. After the words fell, Miyamoto quickly walked back to his home, making up his mind to fulfill the agreement with Hinata. Kurenai Yuhi watched Miyamoto leave and sighed faintly. Hinata, she is really an enviable girl. The Hokage building, this time about the Jonin, the leader of the new generation of Genin, are all here. Copy ninja Hitaki Kakashi, guardian ninja Sarutobi Asuma from the previous generation, and other ninjas, only a dozen or so in total. Almost everyone is here, so this meeting will be officially. Compared with 3 years ago, third generation is older, and his breath is not as good as before. Miyamoto doesn't know what level of strength the third generation is now, but what is certain is that third generation can't beat him. After all, Miyamoto's strength has not yet reached its peak. In a few years, after copying Uchiha Sasuke's Eternal Eye, Miyamoto believes that he can safely enter the Super Cage level. As for the Six Paths level, that level cannot be achieved with hard work. Click. Before third generation finished speaking, the door opened and Miyamoto and Kuroyuki walked in. Seeing Miyamoto and Kuroyuki, the Jonin present all looked with respect in their eyes. Konoha Sanshiki, who is quite famous in the ninja world, is much better than them. Third generation. Senior Kakashi. First, I greeted third generation, and then nodded to Kakashi. Sorry, we're late. Taking a puff of cigarette, third generation looked into Miyamoto's eyes, nodded with satisfaction. It's okay, it's not too late. Chapter 20 Jonin, instructor of the 8th class. Chapter 20. The division of classes has been arranged. To Miyamoto's surprise, this time the allocation of Genin has changed a little. Miyamoto leads the 8th class, and Kakashi still leads the 7th class. The problem lies in Sarutobi Asuma. The class he leads is not the 10th class, but the 1st class, which is not mentioned in the original book. Because of Miyamoto, Kurenai Yuhi, who is much stronger than the original book, became the leader of the 10th class, Jonin. Although I don't understand what third generation thinks, Miyamoto doesn't care. Anyway, he only needs to lead the 7th class. Miyamoto actually understood that the 10th class was handed over to Yuhihong. After all, the three-color team is considered by the third generation to be trusted. The children of the 10th class family actually need a teacher who will escort them. Yuhihong is stronger than Asuma, so it is more suitable. Returning to school after a long absence, Miyamoto and Yuhihong came together. Today's Miyamoto is also quite handsome, coupled with strong strength. Konoha village does not know how many little fans, at least the ninja school, many people regard Miyamoto as an idol. Standing with Yuhihong, the red pupil, if it is not a matter of height, there is also a feeling of being a man and woman. But this kind of feeling can only be felt by Kurenai Yuhi. Miyamoto's mood at the moment is all left on Hinata's body. The two quickly arrived at Class A, pushed open the door. A pair of expectant eyes looked over, and Miyamoto's eyes fell directly on Hinata in the next few rows. Kurenai Yuhi understood, and automatically stood behind Miyamoto. Her eyes were a little bit bitter. Hinata has been waiting for today, because from today, she will be with Miyamoto-kun every day. Do tasks together, fight together, and do many, many things together. It is impossible that Miyamoto has not been injured in the past 3 years. Hinata knows very well in his heart that Hinata knows where Miyamoto has scars. Miyamoto-kun. His face was red, although Hinata's voice was not loud, it contained all kinds of moods. When Miyamoto saw Hinata, although he was happy in his heart, Miyamoto, whose mind had been tempered as a rock, did not show any abnormality. Class 8, come with me. After saying this, he turned around and nodded to Yuhihong, and left directly. Kurenai Yuhi looked at the 8th class of the original work who had already got up, and her eyes fell on Hinata. Kurenai Yuhi and Hinata know each other, but they haven't said anything, and Kurenai Yuhi more or less has a vague attitude towards rivals in love. Aburame Shino and Inuzuka Kiba left first, and Hinata came to the Kurenai Yuhi, nodded slightly, and left with a full face of excitement. Shaking her head, Shihahong felt a little uncomfortable in her heart, and turned to look at the class. Class 10, follow me. Nara Shikamaru and other new generation Ino Shikacho couldn't help but tremble slightly, and each took a look. Shikamaru, how do you feel that guiding Jonin is a bit fierce? Akamichi Choji has something odd on his face. Is there? I don't think so. The corner of Nara Shikamaru's mouth twitched, feeling helpless. Trouble. Konoba Tricolor. A small training ground in Konoha. Aburame Shino and Inuzuka Ya, having suffered tons of injuries at the moment, looked at Miyamoto and Hinata hugging each other with embarrassment. Cough cough cough. Feeling a little embarrassed, Inuzuka coughed a few times, and Aburame Shino looked at each other without saying a word. For Miyamoto to be the guide Jonin of the two of them, the two have no opinion at all. After all, Everyone now knows that Miyamoto is not only the strongest ninja of the new generation, but also Konoha's elite Jonin, who is very powerful. But even so, as two single dogs, Inuzuka and Aburame Shino, it is quite embarrassing, and at the same time, I foresee that the two of them will really be fed dog food frequently in the future. Reminded by Inuzuka, Hinata blushed and left Miyamoto's embrace, which made Miyamoto feel a little pity. Straightening his face, Miyamoto turned to look at the 8th class with a serious face. First of all, I still want to congratulate you for passing the school test. Hearing Miyamoto's words, Inuzuka Tooth showed a smile on his face, and looked at Miyamoto. Isn't it right to graduate? Although we can't match your talent, Miyamoto, we are geniuses too, right? Hearing Inuzuka's words, Aburame Shino pushed his glasses. I'm not a genius, I just like to try my best. Hinata didn't say much, just looked at Miyamoto like this, but the eyes were quite firm. For the reaction of the three, Miyamoto didn't care much. After nodding, a smile appeared on Miyamoto's face. According to Konoha's tradition, now, you can briefly introduce yourself, such as what you like, what you hate, and your future dreams. Miyamoto spoke casually, then paused, but it's different here. I don't want to ask you what your dreams are. I just want you to set a small goal for yourself. Hinata, Kiba, Shino. Being my subordinate is quite dangerous and hard work, especially Kiba and Shino. Go back today, make good preparations, and gather here tomorrow. I want to test your strength. After hearing Miyamoto's words, Aburame Shino and Inuzuka looked at each other, greeted Miyamoto, and left. Don't you leave and stay for dog food? After the two left, Hinata was no longer reserved, and rushed into Miyamoto's arms very enthusiastically. Miyamoto-kun. With her delicate body in her arms, Miyamoto already had the tools to do bad things, and had a little reaction, but pressed down and hugged Hinata with both hands. Hinata, I kept my promise. Hearing Miyamoto's words, Hinata, who was hugging Miyamoto, nodded slightly, but did not speak. Her little face was red, and her eyes became more and more determined. After hugging quietly for a while, the atmosphere between the two rose. Miyamoto smiled on his face and raised the chin of Hinata, who was already a little shorter than himself. Looking at Hinata's lips with fiery eyes, Hinata's face was full of shyness, but she didn't avoid it, but slowly closed her eyes. Kissed. The result of hard work for the past 3 years has not been in vain, at least if kiss now, Hinata will not faint anymore. Chapter 21 Education Class 8 2 Quarters. Chapter 21. Early in the morning on the second day of the split, Miyamoto showed up at the training ground with Hinata. Inuzuka Kiba and Aburame Shino have come over. Miyamoto is not like Kakashi in the original book at all. If he threatens anything, he is a child of the family, so he should be quite clear about the rules. Just come here. Looking at the 3 people in front of him, Miyamoto will not hide his secrets when he still roughly remembers what will happen in the future. The main thing is to hope that Hinata can become more powerful. Under such circumstances, the self-protection ability is naturally a little more. Looking at the 3 people waiting in full battle, Miyamoto looked serious. Give you 3 minutes to formulate a strategy. 3 minutes later, the battle will begin, with the determination to kill me. Otherwise, you are not qualified to be my subordinates. After Miyamoto finished speaking, Hinata nodded with a firm face. I will never let Miyamoto-kun down. After speaking, the 3 of them looked at each other and left immediately. The Shunshin technique is not a brilliant ninjutsu, it is taught in ninja schools, but the 2 people in the entire ninja world who can play the Shunshin technique very smoothly are already dead. Instant Body Shisui, and Golden Glitter Namikaze Minato. Miyamoto's body flicker technique is also very powerful, but it should not reach the level of the legend. The 3 minutes ended quickly, and Miyamoto didn't open up his perception, and he didn't need that level to deal with the 3 of Hinata. Swish. Dozens of shurikens were shot from behind. Miyamoto frowned slightly. Without turning his head, he pulled out the small dagger that he had been carrying behind his back. Ding ding ding. There were a few clashes of metal and iron, and the shurikens shot at Miyamoto were all blocked by Miyamoto without exception. After blocking the shuriken just now, Miyamoto turned his eyes to the front with a smile on his face. Hinata rushed towards him with a fighting spirit on his face. The speed was quite fast, and he came to Miyamoto in the blink of an eye. Gentle Fist Law 8 trigrams 64 palms. The 8 trigrams array looming on the ground wrapped Miyamoto in it, making his eyes shine. Hinata, much stronger than the original. Hyuga Hiyashi Miyamoto has seen it before. This man is not a good father, but he is not a bad father either. As for the relationship between Miyamoto and Hinata, ever since Miyamoto became the youngest elite Jonin in Konoha and surpassed him in strength, there is no response anymore. Hyuga Hiyashi didn't say anything about the division this time. Hyuga Hiyashi is definitely mistaken. Hinata's talent, how could it be worse? After all, she is the princess of the White-Eyed clan. Thinking of such a thing in his heart, Miyamoto's face remained unchanged, neither defending nor attacking. Although Hinata was puzzled, the opportunity to fight was fleeting. 2 palms, 4 palms, 8 palms, 64 palms. After images continued, a set of 8 trigrams 64 palms hit Miyamoto's body, and the last palm directly sent Miyamoto flying. Looking at Miyamoto flying upside down, Hinata wasn't worried at all, and looked anxious.
Inuzuka-kun, it's now. As soon as the voice fell, Inuzuka Fang rushed out of the bushes beside him like a wild beast, and Akamaru was also there. Akamaru, let's go together. Ninja, teeth. Two small tornado-like attacks crossed a parabola and attacked Miyamoto in the air from top to bottom. Boom. It hit the ground heavily, stirring up dust. After the attack, Inuzuka Kiba and Akamaru fell aside, looking nervously at the direction in which Miyamoto landed. Hinata, how's the situation? Hinata stared at Miyamoto's position with a serious face, eyes wide open. It's okay. Even if Miyamoto-kun is surrounded by my parasites, there should be nothing he can do. At some point, Aburame Shino, who had already appeared, pushed his glasses, and said with a serious face. After the dust dispersed and Aburame Shino controlled the parasites to disperse, the three saw a piece of wood lying there quietly, and Miyamoto's figure had disappeared. Body replacement technique. The expressions of the three of them changed, and while they looked at each other, the three of them immediately approached each other. Earth-style heart beheading technique. Just as Inuzuka took a step, two hands suddenly protruded from the ground, one grabbed Inuzuka's ankle, and the other hand grabbed Akamaru's hind leg.
In an instant, only the head of one person and one dog was left outside, and the figure of Miyamoto also appeared in front of Hinata and Aburame Shino, and the seal was completed in an instant. Illusion falling Sakura Naomi technique. This is an illusion technique learned from Uchiha, which can make people fall into a deep sleep. It can be regarded as the single version of Nirvana abode technique.
Hinata and Aburame Shino were about to fight, but the next moment, a strong drowsiness hit, and Aburame Shino rolled his eyes and rushed to the street. On the contrary, Hinata, who has been training with Miyamoto for the past few years and whose strength is at least at the Chunin level, immediately noticed something strange. In addition, Miyamoto did not take a strong target against Hinata at all. She mobilized Chakra to make a mark. Untie. The moment Chakra became confused, this was not a very clever illusion, and it was unraveled directly. Hinata was able to unravel his illusion. Miyamoto was not surprised. With a movement of his body, he came to Hinata in an instant. With a smile on his face, he flicked Hinata's forehead. The battle is over. Boom. Gently and forcefully flicking his forehead, Hinata took a step back slightly, blushing all over his face, but his eyes were frustrated. The three of them were all eliminated in less than a minute from the beginning of the battle. Hinata, who thought that his own efforts should have brought the distance closer, was happy that Miyamoto's strength was quite strong, and at the same time was frustrated by his own efforts. Doesn't seem to have any effect. Hinata. Seeing Hinata's reaction, Miyamoto, who was quite aware of Hinata's soft exterior and tough interior, stretched out his hand and patted his head. You have become stronger. Chapter 22 Kurenai Yuhi and Hinata meet for the first time 3/4. Chapter 22. Three people can do this to such a degree. The three of you are qualified. Miyamoto looked at the three people in front of him and nodded. Then tell me now, what are the plans of the three of you? In fact, according to the sequence of attacks, Miyamoto already knew what the three of them were planning, but he just wanted to confirm who arranged this tactic that was sorted out in 3 minutes. In any case, this should not be Hinata's arrangement. Talent is talent, and combat IQ is combat IQ. There is no necessary connection between the two. According to Hinata's information, pushing his glasses, Aburame Shino lowered his head and analyzed in a deep voice. Miyamoto Juntai has almost reached its peak. Ninjutsu is famous in the ninja world, and illusion is more powerful than the red pupil, which is also one of the 3 colors. A ninja with no weaknesses at all. But since it's a ninja, then chakra must be a weak point, as long as I have enough parasites and can devour chakra fast enough. Having said that, Aburame Shino paused, glanced at Miyamoto, and said. Hinata and Miyamoto-kun are lovers. If Hinata attacks first, Miyamoto can relax his focus. I will use the secret move of Kiba. The two faint, and I will be the main force. From the beginning, our goal was not to defeat Miyamoto-kun. Pushing his glasses, a smile appeared on Aburame Shino's face. Instead of consuming 1/10 of Miyamoto-kun's chakra, obviously our plan worked.
This is what a hasty plan looks like. After Aburame Shino's words came out, Miyamoto smiled slightly and didn't say much. In general, 3 minutes to understand your own intelligence, set goals, and make tactical arrangements is not too bad.
Especially Aburame Shino. Although Aburame Shino's sense of presence in the original work is relatively low, and there seems to be nothing special about it, but obviously, although Aburame Shino's IQ is not as good as that of Nara Shikamaru, who is like a monster, but this is the same. Brains fight. Although the 8th class is positioned as a perception class, its overall strength is not bad, at least in terms of teaching, it is much better than the 7th class. After walking away for a while, Miyamoto recalled the opening plot of Hokage a little in his mind, and then turned to look at the three of them. Let's go. I'll take you to a dinner together today, and I'll treat you. During the grilled meat queue, the 2 classes of Miyamoto and Yuhihong were all sitting together. Miyamoto-kun, is your 8th squad sword going to accept the mission next? Kurenai Yuhi looked at Miyamoto with a little curiosity. Kurenai Yuhi's words made the 3 people in the 8th class all look to drive the machine. To become a ninja, For those who have just started their ninja career, doing missions is undoubtedly the activity they most want to do. However, this time, Class 8 is doomed to be disappointed. Miyamoto is completely a man who doesn't follow the rules. Faced with Kurenai Yuhi's question, Miyamoto shook his head without hesitation. I don't like D-level tasks. Why don't you spend a little time and guide them well? At least you should start with C-level tasks, and after a while, start with B-level tasks.
Hearing Miyamoto's words, no matter what the other 6 little strongmen think, but as Miyamoto's teammate for 3 years, Konoha Kaito Yuhiko, who has a tougher personality than the original book, nodded as a matter of course.
Just right, that's what I plan too. Having said that, Kurenai Yuhi glanced at Hinata who was talking to Yamanaka Ino about a little girl's girlfriend, and then turned to look at Miyamoto. Miyamoto-kun, do you plan to train together? What Yu Hahong said made Lu Xiaoqiang stop their own business and turn to look at their guide Jonan. In general, training for something like this, 2 genin classes, is not possible together. After all, no matter what you say, it's good, more or less related to their respective whole cards. Okay, no problem. But Miyamoto did not refuse, but nodded calmly. Hinata is quite gentle, but it doesn't mean that Hinata is an idiot. As early as in the contact, the delicate Hinata has already felt some of Kurenai Yuhi's thoughts. Although I feel a little uncomfortable in my heart, what should I say?
It seems that I can't see Miyamoto-kun, and Miyamoto-kun didn't cuckold himself on purpose. This is all the fault of my man being too attractive. At only 12 years old, he has already attracted the attention of such a mature woman. Hinata feels that he may not be able to hold on to lollipops in the future. But no matter what, Mr. Miyamoto has no way to cheat now. After all, he doesn't have the tool for committing crimes. Thinking about these things, Hinata looked up at Kurenai Yuhi, and Kurenai Yuhi also looked at Hinata. The eyes of the two separated immediately, and there was not much contact. Noticing this, Miyamoto was embarrassed, and at the same time felt wronged in his heart. Now Hinata looks at him in a strange way, knowingly or unintentionally, and has the feeling of looking at a cheating husband. To be fair, he never thought about it, so quite aggrieved. Chapter 23 The Task of Shueiji Ninfa Tai 4 Quarters Chapter 23 In the mission hall of the Hokage building, Miyamoto came to 3rd generation with the 3 of Hinata behind him. 3rd generation project, our 8th shift is here to pick up the task. It's been a while since the last training session. Miyamoto and Yuhihong have indeed been training 2 classes. 2 weeks later, after improving the strength of Lu Xiaoqiang, the training ended last night. The 10th class has already received the task and left Konoha, and Miyamoto, after reviving the 3 of them and bringing enough supplies, came to the task hall at noon. Looking up at Miyamoto in front of him, 3rd generation is not talking nonsense. He is quite clear about Miyamoto's ability and believes in it. According to the rules in the village, newly promoted ninjas must start with D-level tasks, but I don't think you plan to do that. Putting the task invention above C-level on the table, 3rd generation has a look of trust on his face. In the past 3 years, although Miyamoto has only done his own duty, 3rd generation regards him as a confidant, considerable trust in him. Take a look, which mission do you want to take? Missions above C-level are basically escort missions, there will be no ninjas, and B-level missions will have ninja battles. You all know this very well. After Miyamoto explained casually, he looked up at the 3 of Hinata and let them take the task. The atmosphere in the mission hall was a little quiet, Miyamoto stayed quietly, and 3rd generation didn't say much, only occasionally looking at Miyamoto, full of satisfaction. Being able to reach Kage level at the age of 12 in peaceful times, Miyamoto's genius level is stronger than 3rd generation imagined. If it weren't for some reasons, 3rd generation would have planned to train Miyamoto as a 5th generation. Miyamoto-kun, we have already chosen. After choosing the task, Hinata turned to look at Miyamoto behind him with a look of anticipation on his face. Nodding, Miyamoto glanced at the quest scroll, frowning slightly. The C-level escort task, but the content of the task is a little familiar, and I didn't remember it for a while. No problem. Just by taking a look, S-level tasks are already done frequently. Miyamoto doesn't care whether it's C-level or B-level at all. Miyamoto also trusts the consciousness of the 3 of them. Then we will do this task, a C-level task, as the guard of the actress Fuji Fuyuki. After 3rd generation completed the registration, Miyamoto led the 8th team to the Hokage building. They expanded. This task will take at least 1 month. If you need to prepare anything, just prepare it. We will meet at the entrance of the village an hour later. After Miyamoto finished speaking, the 3 left directly, but he didn't prepare anything. When Miyamoto brought the 8th squad to the mission site, he finally recalled that the mission content of this mission. Shueiji Ninfa Tai, this is the task of Hokage theatrical version, logically speaking, it should not be so early. After looking at the task content, it was consistent with what he remembered, so Miyamoto stopped worrying about the timeline and turned to the task location in front of him. Let's go and meet the mission entrustor and the mission goal this time. The tasks involved in Shueiji Ninfa Post can be regarded as A-level tasks. This is because of the situation of the ninjas involved. If it comes to the Snow Country, this is an S-level task. There is no special boundary for the division of ninja tasks in the Hokage world. I said, I won't go to Snow Country. As soon as they walked into the photography hall, the four of Miyamoto heard a crisp voice and said firmly, "I want to go to you, Snow Country, I will never go." As soon as Miyamoto and the others walked in, a girl rushed over and left quickly from the side of Miyamoto and the others. Miss Yukie. Another older man was about to chase out, but was stopped by Miyamoto's hand. Miyamoto, who recalled some memories, naturally knew who ran out just now, and also knew the man in front of him, the client of this high-value C-level mission. Mistress Asama. While Miyamoto stopped Sante Asama, the three Hinata who were originally following Miyamoto had already chased them out. Wait a minute. Pulling Mrs. Asama, who looked puzzled, Miyamoto didn't talk nonsense and explained directly. I am Konoha Jonin Miyamoto Musashi. I have accepted the mission of escorting Ms. Fujifuyuki, and I will hand over Ms. Yukie to my subordinates to bring her back. With a gleam in his eyes, Miyamoto said without a doubt.
Mrs. Asama looked stunned, and nodded in a daze after Miyamoto finished speaking. Letting Mrs. Asama go, Miyamoto walked aside with a calm face, didn't do anything else, and didn't worry about whether Hinata and the others would lose track of this matter. The 8th class is the perception class. If you lose track, there is really no need to be a ninja. Not long after waiting, the three of Hinata came back with Fujifuyuki who had passed out. Miyamoto-kun, what are we going to do now? After handing Fujifushui over to Mrs. Asama, the man who came out came to Miyamoto and asked a question. It was the first mission and encountered such a situation. The three of Hinata were not sure. Glancing at the three of them, Miyamoto glanced at Sante Asama, who was discussing with the crew director, and shook his head. Our task is to escort Ms. Yukie to the Snow Country to finish filming. We don't need to take care of other things. This mission doesn't look easy. You have to be prepared to fight ninjas.
Miyamoto's words made the three of Hinata look at each other. Understood. Chapter 24 Encountering a Trio 1/4 Chapter 24. The method is similar to the original work, no matter whether there is Uzumaki Naruto's mouth to help. Fuji Feng Shui is not willing to go to the country of snow, but the final method is similar to the original work.
At the request of Mrs. Asama, Miyamoto used illusion to put Fujifuyuki into a deep sleep, and then took it on board. Miyamoto-kun, isn't this too good? Seeing Fujifushui's expressionless face, the soft-hearted Hinata was a little worried, but Aburame Shino and Inuzuka teeth didn't feel anything. Raising his hand and gently rubbing Hinata's little head, Miyamoto showed a smile on his face, glanced at Fujifuyuki who was absent-minded, and said pointedly. There are some things that are useless to escape from. The three of Hinata knew little about it. Fujifushui's expression changed, and he looked at Miyamoto vigilantly. Miyamoto also met Fujifuyu's gaze. His eyes were indifferent, as if he had seen through all the situation. The wind was calm. After Fujifuyu was stunned for a moment, his face was full of anger. You don't understand anything. What qualifications do you have to say such things here? After finishing speaking, Fujifuyuki turned around and entered the cabin.
Pushing his glasses, Aburame Shino spoke cautiously. The mission entruster should have lied about the mission information. After saying this, Aburame Shino looked at Miyamoto, although he didn't ask, but Miyamoto understood the meaning. This question. I leave it to you. The more advanced our ninja missions are, the less information we will get. We must learn to find mission information by ourselves. Miyamoto knew the reason, and didn't intend to say it out. After glancing at Aburame Shino, he spoke. Ninja Squad. The captain is very important. Although Aburame Shino has a low sense of presence, there is no doubt that he is more suitable for the captain in terms of IQ. Miyamoto will not force Hinata to take over just because Hinata is his woman, nor will he remove all obstacles for Hinata. Because Hinata doesn't need to. In the blink of an eye, after sailing on the sea for about a week, the weather started to turn cold, gradually approaching the land of snow. Miyamoto can remember the plot of Shueiji Ninfa clearly, but Miyamoto is not worried about safety because of his strength. Cage-level strength, in the current period of time, can be regarded as the top ninja master in the ninja world. After all, those bug-like tasks have not come out. Not long after entering the snow country, Miyamoto and others encountered a small Iceland. At the request of the director, they wanted to shoot a scene with the iceberg as the background. Just landed on the island, an accident happened. Welcome back, little snow princess. Just after the equipment was placed, a slightly frenzied voice sounded, and three figures from three directions, wearing strange armors, and three ninjas with the forehead protector of Zurin village, ran out from three places. Miyamoto frowned, and looked at the person who spoke at the top. Wolf Fang Avalanche. Leave the Jonin above to me, and leave the rest to you. Pay attention, prioritize the safety of yourself and the mission target. After Miyamoto said something with a serious face, his figure flashed, and he had arrived at an icicle above Iceland in a blink of an eye, looking up at the spike avalanche calmly. From Snow Ninja Village? After Miyamoto's question, Kagura's eyes of perception have opened up, to be honest. The strength of the three members of Langya Avalanche is not very strong. He is not worried that there will be problems, but he is a little worried about whether something will happen in the first battle of the three of Hinata. Jonin of Konoha. Seeing that Miyamoto is wearing Konoha Jonin male armor, although he is young, Spike Avalanche does not mean to underestimate Miyamoto. He also encountered it 10 years ago. Konoha's Jonin cannot be underestimated just because he is young. Miyamoto did not act, but the three Hinata below had already started fighting, but as Miyamoto thought, the strength of the three Hinata was not weak, but they suffered from the loss of experience, coupled with the secret technique of Aburame Shino. In such a situation the environment is more or less affected. The three were suppressed. It seems that your Konoha ninjas are not doing well. The ninja who escaped 10 years ago was like this. You are the same now. While talking, Spike Avalanche has already made an offensive gesture, looking at Miyamoto with a sneer. Sorry, this will be your last mission. After taking a look at the three of Hinata who were suppressed but not in danger, Miyamoto withdrew his gaze and looked at Spike Avalanche. The information about Spike Avalanche appeared in his mind. Jonin of Snow Ninja Village, good at using false ice escape. Relying on the chakra armor invented by Feng Hua Nu Dao, if you don't pay attention, the teenage brother Kai will suffer a lot.
But that was brother Kai, and Miyamoto didn't intend to give Spike Avalanche this chance at all. With his eyes fixed, Miyamoto looked up at Spike Avalanche. The ignorant are fearless. You should be grateful for your ignorance, Avalanche of Fangs. The other two can be left to Hinata and the others to practice, but the Spike Avalanche is fine. Miyamoto intends to kill the Spike Avalanche right here, with an unusually firm attitude. Leave you forever today. P.S. This is Chapter 24. Book reading fun on Friday. Recharge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity time, April 29th to May 3rd. Chapter 25 Miyamoto's strong strength 2 quarters. Chapter 25. Killing intent emanated from his body, a cage-level killing intent, even a little bit, was quite terrifying. Saw. The windbreaker he put on because he entered the snow country was buzzing. Miyamoto looked at the avalanche of fangs, and his hands instantly formed seals. Fire-style fire dragon flame bomb. Boom. Up to now, although Miyamoto's seal speed is not instant, it is almost the same. 7 seals per second can definitely beat most ninjas. After the seal was completed, the seal of Langya Avalanche was only half completed, and the attack of Hualong Yanbo had already come in front of Langya Avalanche. Stepping away in an instant, the stamp of the Wolf Tooth Avalanche is also over, looking at Miyamoto. Ice escape breaking the dragon and tiger. An ice tiger rushed out from behind and rushed towards Miyamoto. In the ninjutsu duel, Miyamoto really didn't worry about it, his face remained unchanged, and the terrifying chakra visible to the naked eye gathered on Miyamoto's body, and jumped into the air. Fire-style Hualong Fire Technique. Boom. The huge dragon fire technique, which is more than 10 meters and close to 20 meters, exudes terrifying high temperature, and the air has an illusion of being burned and distorted. The air in Iceland, which was originally cold, became hot at this moment. A look of shock appeared on Langya Zubang's face, and he didn't dare to have any hesitation, and directly used his own trick. Ice escape Moby Whale. Just as the huge white whale flew out from behind Spike Avalanche, it collided with Miyamoto's dragonfire technique in the air. Boom. Broke the dragon fire technique that broke the dragon and tiger, and it was on par with a white whale. Successfully guarding against Miyamoto's Haolongwo, Langya Shuibing's heart is very dignified, and he no longer dares to underestimate it. With this level of attack, Miyamoto's strength is beyond the imagination of Wolf Fang Avalanche. The chakra, even with the chakra armor boost, Miyamoto's chakra is actually higher than him. Retreat. In Langya Shuibing's heart at this moment, only the current thoughts are left. Whoosh. Boom. The four-handed kunai suddenly shot towards the 4 directions of the Wolf-Tooth Avalanche, nailed to the ice, and turned into Miyamoto. There were 5 people with the body, and they formed different seals at the same time. Fire-style Dalian Bomb. Water-style Dalian Bomb. 5 Escape Ninja Method Dalian Bullet Technique. Die Discouraged, Spike Avalanche. Anyone who has seen Hokage knows that 3rd Hokage's specialization in ninjutsu is indeed very powerful. Miyamoto would not let go of the creativity of 3rd generation in the absence of iconic means. It took more than 3 years for Miyamoto to come up with Wudu Dalian technique. It works great. Boom. After one move, Iceland, which was not very big in the first place, had already begun to shatter and was about to sink to the bottom of the sea. Glancing at the center of the technique, Miyamoto didn't know whether Spike Avalanche was dead, because he didn't care about this at all. He moved his body and activated the body flicker technique, and Miyamoto came directly to Feng Hua, who had no expression in his eyes, by Xiao Shui's side. The 3 of Hinata also gave up their opponents and quickly came behind Miyamoto. Miyamoto-kun, what should we do now? There was some shock on the faces of the 3 of Hinata, and the 3 of them could see clearly that the move of Dalian Dan technique was definitely an S-level ninjutsu. This small Iceland, because of Miyamoto's attack, immediately it's about to sink. Pulling up Feng Hua Xiao Shui who hadn't recovered yet, Miyamoto's figure flickered. Go back to the boat first. Miyamoto spoke directly and ran towards the boat first. When encountering the ninja attack of Snow Ninja Village, Miyamoto expected it, and he didn't care about other things at all. After seeing Miyamoto's powerful strength, the director unswervingly headed towards the snow country. And Feng Hua Xiao Shui was already a little desperate, even with Miyamoto, but she didn't want to run away anymore. Simply, they did not refuse the director's request, and the crew continued to move towards the snow country. During this time,
Funghua Xiaoshui's life experience was also successfully found out by Aburame Shino. The passionate San Xiaoqiang decided to escort Funghua Xiaoshui to the end after learning about Funghua Xiaoshui's experience. In the following time, the crew stopped all the way and filmed a lot of things. I have to say that Funghua Xiaoshui's acting skills really want to be good. A week later, the entire crew finally arrived in the land of snow. It's all snow. Miyamoto-kun, it's so beautiful. Miyamoto nodded and looked at the scenery of snow country. It's really beautiful, but that's not necessarily the case for us, for the people living in this country. Funghua Xiaoshui on one side was stunned when she heard Miyamoto's words, and glanced at Miyamoto. Everyone didn't say much, after all, the land of snow was not a very good place for them. Miyamoto's face was indifferent, and he didn't develop his perception. On the other hand, Hinata has already rolled her eyes. Aburame Shino's worms play less role in such an environment. They are responsible for personal protection of Fukakoyuki. Inuzuka Ya and Hinata are on guard. With Aburame Shino following her, even if Funghua Xiaoshui wanted to run, it was impossible for her to run, which saved a lot of trouble. Not long after they left, Hinata, who was in charge of the observation, froze. Miyamoto-kun, someone is approaching fast.